Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Guilty Angel. Thanks for joining. So I see some people starting to join. That's great. Y'all, I typically I don't do lives on Saturday evenings. I typically don't even do lives on Saturdays, much less on a Saturday evening. Okay. So you already know that this is something that I'm like feeling internal overwhelm about, if that's even like, I don't even know that that's like the correct structure to that sentence. But internally, I'm feeling overwhelmed about this topic. So we're going to touch base and we're going to talk about it because it's like, okay, y'all, it's a lot. And I've been seeing, okay, here's the thing. Here's the tea, y'all. I've been seeing little bits and pieces here. We're going to talk about it in our little YouTube corner because I'm not super on TikTok. I've been thinking and trying to see if I want to like get on TikTok. And I tried it out. Like I tried out the live one time. I'm still not too sure about the whole TikTok thing. This is primarily taking place on TikTok. Okay. So there's like apparently a whole feud war going on between feminists on TikTok or feminists on TikTok. I mean, the women are fighting with each other, y'all. So this is like, it's giving me slight hypertension. I'm not going to lie. Hi, Freedom33. Thanks for joining. Okay, y'all. So like I've been saying, like, look, I don't even do lives on Saturday. Mind you, like I just started doing lives not too long ago. So really, I'm going to end up having to make a podcast about this because most of the attention goes to my podcasts. So I'm going to end up having to make a podcast about this just because this is just too insane. It's too good. Like sometimes, I gave it some time. I gave it some time to be fair to myself. Okay. I gave it some time to cool off. It's not cooling off. It's getting worse, y'all. It's getting worse. Okay. So I'm going to make a podcast after the live, but it's like, I got to make a live to get this off my chest. Like literally, like y'all know, like I jump on lives whenever I'm just kind of like, I need to get this off my chest. We need to process through this with my little group on YouTube. So it's like, it's insane. So the women are fighting. Okay. The women that, say that, they're feminists. They I guess they connect with feminism from their perspective are all kind of like fighting each other. So this is going to be interesting for us to process through. By the way, I went live earlier today from the car. I kept saying, y'all, let me know if you can see me. One person did tell me I was coming out pixelated or all pixeled, but I didn't really quite know what that meant. So I was going to say, no one told me. Y'all just left me out there and didn't even warn me. I was like, the first 20 minutes, you can't even see who's speaking. And I'm just like, why is this my life? But it's not true. One person did try to tell me, and I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm just going to keep going, right? But anyways, I did do a live earlier today. If you want to skip that part, it's like at the 20-minute mark onward, we're talking about Tyler Perry and that whole situation. So y'all, I'm going to share my screen, and I was trying to think about, okay, where do we start with this? And I'm like, should I wait till Monday or Tuesday? Because I know that a lot of the people that join the lives are not going to be used to me coming on a Saturday. But I was like, no, I'm just going to get it out because it's like in my head and I have to like process through this. Okay, y'all. So here's the general synopsis. Okay, here's the general summary. And I think we're going to start with her. She goes by YV Edit, I suppose. I didn't really look into this until now because I saw little snippets coming up. Hi, the ex-patriarchy princess. How are ya? I saw little snippets of this little drama coming up here and there. Okay. I got shampoo in my eyes today and it's guilty angel. I'm sorry. So I saw little snippets coming up here and there of the women fighting. And I'm thinking, okay, what? I didn't know what they were referring to, and I didn't look into it because it's been so crazy with the whole Hollywood drama. That's been the tea that I've been looking at because I'm like, this is super tea. Like right here, this is super entertaining, right? Come to find out, y'all, this is a whole tea right here. Okay. I, I don't know what's going on, girl. Freedom, I don't know either. But we're about to, this is why we stay independent over here. Okay. Like, because I can't, like, this is just insane. If I were a part of that, I wouldn't even be able to talk about it. This is why I say, like, look, to me, it's better, even if it's a slower build, to me, it's better because it's like I get to actually say what I think without feeling like, oh, I'm going to hurt this person's feelings. I'm going to hurt these person's feelings. Like, I don't have to worry about any of that. I get to actually say, what I think about this whole situation. So I don't know what's going on here. I just dug into it today. And so, but I did see little snippets. I saw little snippets here and there. I saw little snippets of them kind of going back and forth with each other. It kind of came up in some videos, it's a mess. So these are between all the women that claim that, they're feminists. So there's this whole, just to give a background on this, there's this whole synopsis, this whole issue where they're going back and forth on true feminists versus non-true feminists versus who's a real feminist and who's not a real feminist. And like, I know some of them are married. Like the lady on the screen right here, she's married. I brought up this issue a few months ago. I brought up this question and I didn't use her specifically. I didn't use her name specifically because I feel like there's a lot of women that are married that say that they're feminists. So it's not just her that does that, but I brought up the question of like, I don't get it. Like, how can you not really being a feminist? Because I feel like you can be a feminist and still be married. That's fine. But I don't get how you can like try to teach women to decenter males if you're full on married. I have brought up that question before and I still don't get it. I don't see how you can really teach women how to decenter males when you're full on married, being that marriage is like at the top of the patriarchy, right? I feel like you can like, I don't know. It's still one of those questions that I'm kind of like, I'm not sure, I feel like you can be a feminist, but I don't know how you can truly know how to decenter males when you are actively participating in one of the strongest institutions that patriarchy offers, right? So exactly, the ex-patriarchy. I'm kind of like, I'm on the fence about it too. I don't know. I haven't been convinced yet. I think that's a hard sell. And I think that's what I said in my other thing too. It's like, I would have that question too. That's a hard sell for me. That's a hard sell. Hi, Stacy. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I like Flawed Villain. Actually, at this point, I would even say like, I left comments on her page and I was like, just keep going because I'm not really understanding what's happening here. I mean, it's like, it really has become, from what I'm seeing, it's become like the Mean Girls Club versus Flawed Villain. I mean, she's just asking the same questions, except she's on TikTok. She's on TikTok and she's amassed way more of a following on TikTok, and all these other content creators are also primarily on TikTok. So these posts that she's making, that Flawed Villain is making, they've amassed quite a bit of views. Okay. And I knew this was coming. I said it a few months ago. I was like, I don't know if these married women don't tackle this issue in a more efficient way, it's going to come back up and it's going to be a bigger problem when it comes back up. I literally specifically said that in the live that I did a few months ago. I said, that's all I have to say because it's coming up for me. And I'm thinking it doesn't, like, if me as someone that's not married with a brain, I'm not going to sit there and listen to someone that's married on decentering males, because I'm going to feel like, what the heck is she talking about? Like, where did she steal that from? Because how would you know? But at the same time, that doesn't really mean that you are 100% male centered just because you're married, but you are participating in one of the strongest institutions that the patriarchy has to offer. And that has to be addressed and that has to be acknowledged, because that's the truth. You are. So how do we bridge this gap? Maybe it's a spectrum. I don't know, so Freedom says, as long as she's pro women, maybe as long as she's pro women. Yeah, I think as long as she's pro women, it's like, okay, yes, you can be a feminist, but I think maybe the issue is, and y'all let me know what you think on this, because I just came up with it. Maybe the issue is the topic, maybe because a lot of them are talking about decentering males, but yet they're married to males. It's creating a conflict, maybe if they were talking about, if they primarily had stuck to talking about just women topics, as opposed to like dragging like males into it, maybe like self-care, or like how to go on a date by yourself or with yourself when you're married. I feel like these ladies could have had very much, I feel like they could have had much more interesting perspectives to add to the conversation if they would have maybe spoken more on the side of what their life actually reflects. Kind of like Shira 7. Shira 7, she's married, and so, but what she talks about is how to get the money from males, which is exactly what she did. And she says it all the time, like, I don't pay any bills. And that's what I'm telling you to do, right? Kind of like that. I feel like if maybe, and I could be wrong, but I'm speculating here. Let me know what y'all think. Do you agree? Do you not agree? I'm like processing through this, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe if they would have from like the get-go stuck to something that's more aligned with what their life looks like how to decenter men while married or whatever. If they would have specifically maybe stuck to that might have worked, but y'all, at this rate, this is a mess. This is becoming more and more of a mess, because now I'm even more on the fence because of how they're treating Flawed Villain. I'm like, a girl can't even speak her mind. You're sending all your little minions after her. It's like Mean Girls Club against one person. Literally, that's what it's giving. It's giving Mean Girls Club against one person for bringing up what we all see. And all these women that are going on her page, bashing her for bringing up what we all see. I'm like, oh my God, this is why I say all the time, a matriarchy is not possible, y'all. It's not possible, because now I got my eyebrow raised at like the whole thing. I'm like, ugh. And this is why, this again reminds me of why we take a more independent route, even though it might take longer. This is exactly it. This is why, because it's like, you can't trust males and you can't trust the majority of women. Apparently, they're fighting with each other. But one of the things that stuck out to me is, okay, you've sent all your minions here to attack this girl just because she's saying what everyone else sees. Now, okay, we'll see it when we watch these videos, because the other side, the Mean Girls Club, brought up a good point. I'm just going to call them the Mean Girls Club. Sorry, not sorry, because that's what it's giving me. That's the vibes it's giving me, okay? I'm just going to call them the Mean Girls Club. The Mean Girls Club has brought up a good point, okay? They were like, well, you voted, apparently Flawed Villain, which I didn't know, voted for Trump. So this became a whole issue because she voted for Trump. So the Mean Girls Club started bashing Flawed Villain for voting for Trump. Child. I don't know what's this supposed to be. So then they started fighting about who voted for who, why she voted for Trump, this and that and that. So that point was brought up by the Mean Girls Club, you know. And I will say, I don't know, like that's a point to be made, but I just don't see what the heck that has to do with anything. Because I didn't see, like, did they bash males as much? Because most of the people that voted for Trump were males. So, and I didn't really see like as much like concentrated hate and attacks towards males that like voted for Trump. It was kind of like people that voted for Trump suck, right? But I didn't see, this is like a concentrated mass attack on one person. And to me, that's kind of unacceptable. I kind of feel like, look, I don't really see the point of concentrating a whole attack with your little minions. This is why I don't subscribe to that. This is why I'm not a part of it. Because your little followers, your little minions that can't process 2 + 2 with their own brain, you're just sending them all over there to attack this lady for saying what she thinks, you know. And I feel like, look, these are valid questions. But we're gonna look at all the sides, because we're gonna start with what's her name again? YV Edit, or yes, I think it's YV Edit. We're gonna start with her because she responded. We want everyone to be able to defend themselves. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Guilty Angel. YV Edit also supports public offender, whom I can't stand. Child, y'all. This is a lot. Okay. See, I didn't even know that. Hi, Miss Market. Thanks for joining. Y'all, okay. So apparently she supports public offender, I suppose. You know what I'm saying? Like, Guilty Angel says she supports public offender. So he's a male. So there you go. But we're going to look at all sides. We'll give all sides a chance to defend themselves. But from what I'm seeing, I really just don't. That's the one thing that stood out to me is like, okay, all of you Mean Girls Club have now started a concentrated attack on this one lady. And also, it's not even like the lady is telling anything that's a lie. It's literally like, these are all valid questions. They're all valid points. What are we so upset about? Like, what's going on? And so I noticed the little digs here and there. And it's just like, now this is why I'm not a part of no girl groups. Okay. Because the ladies keep themselves down. We're also going to look at the comment section on Flawed Villain's page, because that comment section, the ladies bashing her in the comments section tells you a lot about women and why and how women have been able to be oppressed for as long as they have. I am starting to think and question who the biggest haters of women are. Is it really males that are the biggest haters of women, or is it actually women that are the biggest haters of women? Because this is wild. You know, like those comments were unhinged. I couldn't even understand. And to me, it makes even less sense because Flawed Villain is not married. She's not, and I've said this before in my lives. She's not married. She's not attached to a male. She said she hasn't even gone out with a male in any type of like serious capacity for like the past 2 years. So if we're looking to anyone as far as decentering content, she should be it. But yet the women are flocking to the women that are married instead, and then attacking the person that is literally closer to what the centering men looks like. You know what I'm saying? So like, y'all, the whole thing's insane. You know, I think it's, at least they're doing pro women content, which is good. I think it's helpful for women, but now with all this coming out, I'm kind of like, I don't know. Is it legitimate? Like, why do you have all your people attacking this girl? Let's see what they have to say, and go from there. So y'all, let me know if you can hear this, or do I have to like pull it up on my phone so y'all can hear it? Let me know if you can hear it. Can y'all hear that okay? Or not really? Y'all let me know if you can't hear it, because otherwise I won't know until after the live that y'all could not hear that. Okay, let me go ahead and pull it up just in case. You can't hear? Okay. Oh, child, this is crazy. I'm hoping to cover some important things today in this live. Thank you. We already got some questions coming in. I hope in good faith, but it's been kind of a rough week, y'all, over on feminist TikTok. So we're going to talk about practicing discernment in feminist spaces, because I just can't help but... Hold on. So y'all, the first thing to keep in mind, sounds good. Okay, good. Thank you, Guilty Angel. Thanks, Stacey. So the first thing is, she titled this video, "Do Not Be Fooled by Feminist Grifters." So she called this lady a grifter. So I'm trying to listen for, and I didn't hear the reason why we are referring to her as a grifter. There might be something I'm missing, because again, like, I'm primarily on YouTube. I was thinking of starting to do more TikTok, but I haven't done that. I've done one live on TikTok, and that's it. And I wasn't even talking about anything when I did the live. I just wanted to see what it was like. So y'all, oh, Freedom, can you hear now? Freedom 33 says she can't hear. Yeah, exactly. There's so many. Freedom, can you hear now? Can you hear me now? There's so many perspectives to take in. Y'all, it's a lot of perspectives to take in. We're going to dissect it, and we're going to see what's going on. But yeah, like, I've literally, this is the type of stuff that makes me think, should I really get on TikTok? Because it's kind of crazy over there. Okay. Feel like it's not really a coincidence that I've been on this side of TikTok for, years now, multiple, and have never seen this. Okay, let's be for real. She's been on there for like 2-3 years. So it hasn't really been like, I don't know why she said years, as if it's been like 10 years. I think she's been on there for like 2-3 years. And from what I've seen, from the feedback I've seen from others, she started with talking about other things, trying to see what would stick. And it just, when the feminist thing started coming up more and more, she then started talking about the feminist thing, and that just so happened to be what stuck. I'm pretty sure she said this before, so I don't know why she's not being completely transparent about that in this video, but I probably missed some details. I'm not her, but from what I've heard, as far as in the comment section and feedback on, this is where we're at. Type of like thing break out until a certain individual showed up in our space. So discernment entails 5 things. So she says, these are just things that until a certain individual shows up in our space. See, this is why I don't get involved with these mean girls group, because it's like, what is that supposed to mean? Do you think you own the space? Like, what does that mean, showed up in our space? You're on the internet. Anyone could say anything. So you have to like choose which direction you want to go every second, with every post, with every video. If you go and you do a collab with someone, that's you choosing a direction. Anything could happen when you choose that direction. So I don't know what she means by shows up in our space. This is mean girl energy, in my opinion, but we'll see what else she has to say. Sort of learned as I've gone along, and this is how I sort of vet other feminist creators, or this especially applies to men, but obviously we know that some women are still male-centered, patriarchy-centered, or they're very self-centered, and so all of these things will apply. Now, I already have a comment in here asking me if I'm married. Let's get that out of the way. Yes, I'm married. I've been married for 13 years. I got married young, and my husband is the biggest supporter of this content. So, Abby, I don't know. I love your content. Abby Eckel says, how are people still confused about how 2 things can be true at once? I don't know. I literally don't know. And I think it's just a lack of critical thinking. And I do think that this type of content is kind of like a conveyor belt. I very much support women that have chosen to like physically decenter men to the point where they're literally like, I will not be. This is the thing, right? So here's the thing, y'all. I think, you know, her being pro woman, I think, is helpful and useful. I think, you know, it's good that women that need that content from her have the access to that content from her. But it still doesn't make sense to me why it's so hard to acknowledge the discrepancy between the fact that you're married and then you're talking about decentering males. I just don't understand why that's so hard to acknowledge. Like, why are we acting like, I don't know why that's so confusing? Ma'am, that's confusing because you're married. Marriage is the biggest form of manipulation, or the biggest tool that the patriarchy has. And you're under it. Okay. Like, I just don't understand. Like, what is going on? Like, am I like in Twilight Zone? That's why it's confusing. I think maybe if they would have, like, because she's not the only one, so I'm not really concerned about her specifically, right? But if these married women would have just came out and said, yes, it's a discrepancy. Okay, it's a discrepancy. But I think over the years, as more and more feminist content has come up, you know, I'm starting to see this more and more myself, things that I didn't even see before, because I'm willing to bet that's probably part of what this is, you know. So from what I was hearing when I was looking into this today in the comments, y'all, the comments section will tell you all the tea that you're like, how do y'all even know that about this person? Like, apparently she's been married since like the age of 19. Okay. So I'm like, I don't even know how these people, maybe she said it, who knows, you know. So to me, not acknowledging that it's a discrepancy is completely wild. It's like, what? You know, that's how, you know, like, it's like, are your followers not able to, this is what I'm saying, because when you get into like a group, a mean girls group, you know, then you start engaging in groupthink. Okay, groupthink, where everyone is thinking this alike. No one has individualistic thought. Okay, because they don't want to make this person mad, and they don't want to make that person mad, and they don't want to do this with this person. And like, we created this space, man. Y'all didn't create the space. You jumped onto the space because that's what the audience wanted to hear. More and more women wanted to hear about this topic, so you jumped into it and you started talking about the topic. It was a topic that was in high demand. You didn't create the topic, you didn't create the space, and you didn't create feminism. So why is it so hard for us to acknowledge the fact that, look, there's a discrepancy here? You're married, ma'am. How do you explain that to us? You know, this shouldn't be more than just a conversation. But if you have one person just kind of denying the fact that there's a discrepancy, the conversation can't even start. You know, even if it's people that like your content, you know, you're just gaslighting people left, right, center, acting as though you're not participating in one of the strongest institutions that make up the very patriarchy that you speak against. It's a discrepancy, right? It's like, literally, y'all, let's keep going, because I don't really have anything against this lady, but she's one of the ones that's in the feud. So we're looking at her. We're looking at some other lady that's a part of the feud. We're looking at Flawed villain that's a part of the feud, and we're just going to dissect the whole thing, because she's doing pro women content, which again is good that she's doing pro women content. But I already knew it. I said this. If y'all are OGs, you probably remember me saying this on the live. I said, if they're married and they're making the centering men content, this is going to be an issue, because it's counterintuitive. And you're going to have more and more women. I said it. You're going to have more and more women like, huh? But because I'm not really on TikTok, you know, I just do my own thing here on the tubes. Okay. So here we are. And it's going to continue to do that, because they're still not acknowledging the fact that it's a discrepancy. Like, they're still trying to act like they're like, what, you know, so it's going to continue to be an issue because it doesn't make sense.
Around a man, and like, that's it. That's what it is. Like full 4B. I support that movement. I get it. My only problem when it comes to people who hear about that movement and then like kind of like run with it is that they start disparaging other creators who are in relationships or married that cover this type of content, which I think is extremely crazy. I think it's extremely like short-sighted, and I think that it's really, I mean, when you look around, it shouldn't be a surprise to y'all that most of the people that make this type of content are married. And it's because of our like close, and it's because that we have had these relationships with men. And
dang, y'all, how do y'all feel about that? Most of the people that make this content are married. I think she's right. You know what I'm saying? Most of the people that jumped on the opportunity to make this type of content are married. And it is counterintuitive. I called it out from the get-go. I said, I don't understand, because like all these women are married. So I don't really understand what they're talking about. Because when they talk about it, they usually don't specify. They don't say how to dissenter men while married. They'll usually just be like, how to dissenter men, how to do this, you know? So she's right. A lot of the content creators that create content on this are married. I also think there's no reason to like, pinpoint one person, you know, unless, I don't know. I didn't pinpoint one person because I didn't feel like that was necessary, being that there were so many of them doing the same thing, you know, like, so, and then also I'm like, well, you know, I'm not in a rush. I mean, I think I'm okay, like with how I'm doing my stuff over here. So I don't really have the need to do the most with that. But it's true. Like they pointed her out specifically. They pointed a lot of other, but I will say Flawed Villain pointed a lot of other people out as well. So there's that, you know, but I would also say, I mean, again, it comes down to like being epically for real. All right. Like the fact that, you know, these married women keep trying to act blind, like they don't know what's being talked about or who's saying, like they don't see the logic in these questions that are coming up, to me is like the craziest part. It's like, man, what? Like you're better off just acknowledging that it's a discrepancy and just explaining that discrepancy. But it's too late now because they've spent so much time denying it. They would look completely insane going back on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's kind of too late, but it's like, it's totally insane.
Because we have like done the work of decentering men, that this is why we can have these relationships and speak on it at the same time. Cleopatra, yes, I have seen the videos that she's making about me. I think it's very interesting that she's using me being married to attack me, I think.
And that's gonna have to be a separate live, because I don't even know who Cleopatra is, girl. But apparently she must have a substantial amount of views for her to be lumped in here into the response. Girl, I don't even know who. This is just like this. This is just like out of the roof. But I knew it. I told them. But you know, I'm a tiny one when it comes to lives, and I'm not even really on TikTok, so no one listens to me. But I told like this. I saw this coming months ago, and I said it in my live. I was like, this is going to be an issue because this is a discrepancy. It's not that there's anything wrong with these ladies. Like I don't have anything against these ladies. They're fine. You know, their content is fine. I think a lot of them just like copy from here, copy from there, and then they like repeat the content to you. It's, you know, but I also think that women have to, a lot of times women have to hear that content over and over and over again for it to stick, right? So that's fine. But this is just kind of like a mess. I honestly, I feel like they could have had a lot more originality in their content if they would have just been a little bit more aligned with what their real life looks like, as opposed to trying to like ignore the clear discrepancy that's in front of all of us, you know? And the thing is, a lot of women are following these married women talking about, I'm never getting with a male. I'm never getting with a male. And you're following a married woman and then bashing the one that's not married, that's literally living a lot closer to that to the lifestyle that you're claiming. You're bashing her and then standing up for some random married person. To me, the discrepancy doesn't make sense. I don't know. Maybe someone can explain that to me. Yes, their views of women are the problem. Yep. I support banning them because they don't assimilate and patriarchal court defends them. Oh, I don't know what y'all are talking about, something else. Okay. So let's go ahead and keep going.
Like saying that I'm clearly like promoting the patriarchy and stuff, when she was definitely supporting the patriarchy up until like a week ago. You know what I'm saying? And then for anyone that is calling, like, especially the fact that she's calling Cecilia, Regina, and I mean girls, and her little followers are in the comments here being literally mean to me. Like, being literally calling me a pick-me.
Okay, y'all. So that's where I got mean girls from. I'm glad she said that, so people don't think I just came up with the mean girls myself, you know? That's where I'm trying to tell you, they're insulting each other, okay? That's where I got the mean girls from. Thank you for saying that, so that I can give the disclaimer on the live that I didn't just come up with that myself. Although it is giving mean girl vibes. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen the comments that she's talking about, because there's a good chance that she also got comments, you know, bashing her or whatever the case may be. But I haven't seen anything like that bashing her, but I've seen her followers bashing the flawed villain for bringing up these discrepancies. You know what I mean?
In here. So yeah, don't worry guys. She's just uniting women. We love you, Cecilia. Cecilia's in the chat. Yep. And Cecilia says exactly. People say that having or not having a man can define a woman's activism. They're centering men. Absolutely. Men do not center us. You know what I mean? And they can still be married to us. So it's really not, the flex that y'all think it is to be like, you are not like physically decentering men. Like, y'all realize you have to share the planet with men too. The end goal is to learn to decenter men to their face. You can remove yourself from the presence of men, and I completely respect that. I completely support that. But there are those of us out here that realize we have to continue sharing planet Earth with these people, and that is what it is.
Okay, here's what I think about that. I think, okay, you gaslighting, okay, because the women that are saying or removing themselves completely from the faces of males, or not dating them, they're not really interacting with them except if they have to like work with them, and you're trying to act like you don't know that. Like, oh, we still have to exist on the same. Ma'am, you're married to a male. Okay, like that's not the same. Like, or can we be so for real? She's such a gaslighter. And then like the following is gonna be like, yeah. Meanwhile, all she has to do is just acknowledge the discrepancy. Well, it's too late. Again, it's too late for that. But all she would have had to do is acknowledge, because there's nothing wrong with her content. She's pro-women. She's trying to help the women out. A lot of women find her content useful. What's the problem? It's a discrepancy. Like, maybe we should have just acknowledged that from the beginning, you know, but all of these tactics, it's like, okay, but we know that when women say that, they mean they're not dating males, they're not interacting with males, and they certainly aren't marrying them. Okay, so it's not an issue on whether or not women don't know that they have to live on the same planet as males. That's not the issue. Like, what are we talking about here?
And there's just like more important things to cover right now. And I just think it's funny that people literally thought that for some reason I would have the back of like a random person. Like, y'all need to understand, this is literally a random person that just showed up in this space like a couple months ago and has like created this mess and is like reveling in it. Like, y'all need to understand that Cecilia, Regina, and I have each made about one, maybe 2 videos about her. I didn't even make videos calling her out directly. She reposted, thanks Retro, she reposted the video that I made about the situation with her.
Child, this is a mess, y'all. This is a mess. Like, she's like, she just randomly showed up in my space. I'm like, y'all, what space? like I didn't know we were cloning. We were claiming ownership of feminism in spaces. Yeah. So Dee Dee says, I think there's too many rules for women who support women to follow. We should just focus on men who are the problem. Not of our feminists are perfect. Yeah, that's a good point, Dee Dee. Apparently, so Freedom says, apparently her husband is a feminist as well. That's a good point too. Yeah, I just think, I feel kind of bad because I honestly think if she would have just tackled this thing head on, she wouldn't have these problems right now. If she would have been like, look, it is a discrepancy, but here we are, like I'm way far in. I'm like, I've been married since I was 19, but I can give you a perspective from what it's like being married and now learning so much from all these other women, and feminism is now on the rise. This is what I've been learning. If she would have taken that approach, I think this would have made she would have avoided this whole issue. Okay. Because again, I don't even know what to say. Like, I've noticed that married women want to be a part of it too. And I can't think of a good reason why they shouldn't be able to. They want to be a part of like the feminist movement, the feminist conversation. And I can't really think of a good reason why they shouldn't be able to, but I'm not going to walk around acting like there's not a little bit of a discrepancy, or actually a big discrepancy, with the fact that you're in a marriage institution, and marriage is the biggest tool that the patriarchy has to offer, followed only by, the literal abuse of women and children. You know what I'm saying? The literal oppression through like healthcare and every other channel that there is, right? So I honestly think, okay, this is just a mess, because there's nothing wrong with her or anybody else. She's not the only one. So I think maybe they just targeted her because like a lot of people watch her stuff, especially on and we'll talk about that because she works with a lot of BLK content creators, which I never understood, because like she's YT and you can see the clear difference. It's like she gets way more out of working with those BLK content creators than the BLK content creators get out of working with her. Like if you look at her views, she gets a lot more views, and I'm guessing it's maybe a lot of it has to do, in my opinion, with the fact that she's YT. So I really never understood how that was a good fit for them, but hey, whatever, but like I think she would have avoided this whole thing because she just said like, okay, that's what I'd have done. I'd have been like, it's a discrepancy. Yes, it is. But I got married when I was 19. So reasonably speaking, logically speaking, I didn't know what I know now. Okay. But yet here I am, I'm satisfied with the level of support I get. A lot of women might want more support than I get. And this is content to help women kind of avoid a lot of these pit holes, especially from the perspective of a married woman. Boom, done. But she would have had to do that from the start, you see. And so now she's kind of trapped in this place where it's like we all got to act blind, and it's they're all fighting with each other. Girl, they're all fighting with each other. Yeah. Husbandry, yeah, like he's the shepherd and breeds. Yeah, Looney 28, exactly. So hi Looney 28, thanks for joining. Exactly. So we can't really ignore the fact that, okay, you are pro women, but we're talking about feminist stuff, and we're talking about the fact that you are locked in again in one of the I would actually argue the strongest institution that upholds patriarchy is marriage. That's the strongest institution that upholds patriarchy. When you get married, your last name changes. When you give birth, the children take on the last name of the male and keep going with the last name of the male, and your name is nowhere to be found. It's like it's literally the strongest institution that the patriarchy has to offer, that upholds the patriarchy. So you got to kind of address that. Otherwise, it becomes an issue like this one. Does that mean you can't be a feminist? No, it doesn't mean that you can't be a feminist, but it does mean that like if you don't address it early, a lot of you're going to get more and more opposition as the women become more and more intense about the subject. Okay, that's what's going to happen. As the women become more and more intense about this subject, you're going to get a lot more. And I said this in my live a few months ago, but I didn't target a specific person. I think, because I was like, I don't know, I wouldn't want to like build a following just by targeting people all over the place for no reason. And I also, again, I feel like so many of them do it. It's like not just one person. It wouldn't make sense for me to target one person, but you kind of have to address the fact that it doesn't make sense. And she keeps trying to argue that it makes sense. And I think that's the problem.
And now she's acting like she wasn't in the comment section of every single one of my videos, like supporting me and like hyping me up. And now she's literally saying that like I'm not worth listening to because I don't decenter men like physically and because I'm married, which is crazy. Yeah, exactly. So
maybe she didn't know that she was married. But that's an interesting fact. That's an interesting thing to keep in mind, that she was hyping you out before and now she's not. Interesting.
Gail says they think decentering men means never talking to any man ever again and not an internal shift. Yeah, I think that's how a lot of women see it. And like I said, I would never not support a woman who is like, no, I literally don't want to be around men. Like I'm decentering men, like physically and in every way, like mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever. I just know that I support you. I do. I just don't think you have to physically decenter men to decenter men in your life. To me, at least, the ultimate goal is to be able to exist and share.
Yeah, I mean, that's something to think about. Like, what do y'all think about that? She says, I just don't think you have to physically decenter men in order to decenter men. What do you guys think? I mean, so here's what I'll say about that. I kind of don't want to say anything because I feel like that'll influence y'all. Guilty angel. Guilty angel. I feel like that will kind of like maybe skew some, and I'm not trying to skew thoughts, but if from processing through that, I kind of feel like, again, there's a lot of gaslighting happening here because, the physical aspect is a part of decentering males. Okay. It's not just mental, but it's also physical. That's a part of it. And that's the part that you're missing. So if you, are not addressing this aspect, because the reason it's a big deal is because you keep not addressing it and acting like it doesn't matter and you don't have to blah, 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 blah. That's the reason why people are bringing it. Well, I mean, I brought it up, but I didn't specifically target the lady, you know what I'm saying? But that's the reason why this is becoming more and more of an issue within their group. Okay. Because it's like, but the physical is a big part of it. Even if you think about the oppression of women back in the day for decades, even today, what do males keep trying to get possession of? It is the body of a woman. Okay. That's what they've always wanted possession of. You physically being there, cooking and cleaning and looking stupid. Okay. It's the physical is incredibly important as well. So you can't just be like, well, they act like, The problem is, because the physical is so important, that's why this keeps coming up as an issue for you. Okay. Because that's how important it is. So you would have to, I even said it in that live like a few months ago when I was talking about this topic. I said, if that were me and I found myself in this situation where I'm married, but I'm still wanting to do the centering males content, I would really have to think about how am I going to go about positioning myself in this area, because I am married. How am I going to explain this? You know what I'm saying? Like, how am I going to go about explaining this with this? Okay. And I don't think that these married women have done that. I think that they've just kind of been putting out all this content. And because most women don't have the capacity to process through information on their own, they just want the validation from whoever and whenever. They just take in the content, and they don't say anything. It's kind of like the same thing that they do with males, right? So the women aren't used to free conversation, free thinking conversation, okay? And I was like, that name kept coming up with like the Priscilla. Whenever I started talking about more and more about these topics as well, I was listening to her and I was thinking, oh, this is like good information for like the first 4 weeks, until I realized it's kind of cultish. It's kind of a cult. Okay. So I was like, I'm out. I can't engage, because I wouldn't be able to like freely think. Okay. And so I use that as an example because this just shows the importance of like being able to freely process through information. And your following is not going to be able to do that if you just keep gaslighting, acting like this is not important, but this is important, And you shouldn't really be surprised if someone says, well, you're married, so what are you talking about? Because it's a good point. It's a fair point. It's a fair question. Okay. So let's see.
And with these people while decentering them mentally, which is what they do to us. Once again, this is just that reminder. This is what they do to us. This isn't anything new. A lot of bullies in these comments. I just think it's really funny how like I don't delete or block y'all, and she's deleted and blocked absolutely everybody. Thank you, Miss Mar. She's deleted and blocked absolutely everybody who has criticized her. I'm actually wouldn't be surprised if like her follower count has gone down just because of that. Like, that's crazy. You guys should go watch her live with Princella today. I hope that y'all hear some enlightening things in there.
This is why I used Princella as an example, because I saw her name pop up on here too. Y'all, this is a lot of drama. This is why I say, like, y'all, you can't, a matriarchy, not possible. It's very unfortunate, but I've been telling y'all, look, this matriarchy thing is nothing but a dream. Okay. Let me see. I'm trying to see, because I want to show y'all this content here real quick. Why is it showing up as not what I want to see? Okay. So y'all, this is like completely wild. Okay, so let's see. The one that we're gonna watch is the YV canon, because I gotta find it on my phone, because I know otherwise y'all can't hear it. I didn't watch that live. I didn't even know about it till today. Today is when I really started looking into this whole discussion, because it seems to be blowing up more and more, and the women can't figure it out. I kind of thought they'd figure it out. I had heard here and there, seen comments on different irrelevant videos about this feud, y'all. Like irrelevant videos that have nothing to do with this feud. I had been seeing comments on it, and I was thinking, okay, I'm sure they'll figure it out. And, they didn't. So here we are. Let me see, you guys. So I knew this would be so inconvenient because, I know, I have an idea. An easier way to do this. So let's go ahead and watch this. I'm going to send this to myself. But y'all, what do you think about this whole situation? I think it's kind of sad. Are y'all able to hear that okay? I don't know. How do you share a video on freaking... Oh, there it is. No, that's not how you do it. On TikTok, y'all. I'm not hip like this. I'm just so not hip. But yeah, y'all, so this is what's going on. Let me see if I'm going to try it again. I'm so not hip with TikTok, so this is just a struggle for me. Y'all, they've been fighting so hard. So I want to show y'all the one of the original videos. Hi, Guilty. No. Hi, Bet Victoria. How are you? Thanks for joining. I have not heard Freedom 33. What is the Queen Bee syndrome? If I had to guess, does it mean... I've never heard of it. I'm just guessing from what it sounds like. Like everyone thinks they're the queen bee of the space, or that they created the space. Girl. Queen Bee syndrome. What does that mean? Tell us what that means while I try to find this video on my end. Okay, so we're looking for YV's canon event. Good Lord. Hold on, y'all. Let me see. So I didn't see that live. I missed out on that live. Do y'all know how to like get the link from here? Because I want to give everybody a chance. Oh. Child, there's so many. Y'all, I'm just gonna like play it. I think I might just play it from my phone, because this has been going back and forth for a while.
fucking cheat. Every single fucking one of them.
No, they actually don't. But I wonder if we use the same logic against women and generalize them like we generalize men. Since a lot of women also cheat, we could say the same that all women cheat, right?
The difference is we don't actually care.
Oh my God, I don't know what that's about. Okay, y'all, so let me see if I can find this because I'm not able to find it. Oh, hold on. I'm not able to find it. While I look for this, let's keep listening to Oh Girl. I think that'll be the best thing for us to do because I'm like, otherwise.
This is why I'm kind of like, I'm just trying to put y'all on because I need y'all to think about the fact that this whole thing, literally, so Cecilia Regina, Melanie Hamlet, Therese, the Sovereign Woman, me, Red Lipstick Talks, Queen Sovereign, Yellow Chick, all of these people, all of us, Jamila Bradley, I can't, MJ Gray, all of these observations with my eyes, thank you. I already said MJ. All of us have existed in this space somehow for years now. Burb and Bougie, thank you. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot Burb. I love Burb. Burb and Bougie, all of us have been in this space, sharing this space peacefully, nicely, supporting one another, even calling each other out sometimes, right? With absolutely no beef like this has ever happened. Over the year that I've been here, over the 2 years that Cecilia Regina's been here.
From my understanding.
Okay.
This type of thing has never ever happened before. So y'all need to think about that. The fact that, somebody
I don't know, y'all. I feel like this is just a herd mentality, in my opinion. She named a bunch of people that are all, I mean, if this is accurate, it is kind of like a Mean Girls Club, in my opinion, because you're naming a bunch of all of y'all that have been operating like the mean girls, apparently. I don't know, because what does that mean? All of us have just been operating within this space. Girl, what? You don't own the space. What are you even talking about? So this is what keeps me from being able to even, I'm I don't really understand why these women are like this. Why are women like this? You don't own the space. Who do you think you are? I don't know who these women think they are. Oh my God. I think maybe it gets to their head, maybe all the attention and the views gets to their head. But if you don't start out, just by being yourself, this is what you'll run into. Not that I feel like they're being themselves, but just kind of being more aligned with what their life looks like, as opposed to, let me partner with this person, let me partner with that person, let's all be a group, this is the group space. And it's this is what ends up happening with that group herd mentality. We've all been coexisting in this space just fine because no one has been confronting real issues and real questions. So that leads me to believe that, what have you guys been playing games this whole time? Because no one is keeping it real. You're not keeping it real with each other in these spaces. You're just kind of doing exactly what the males accuse women of doing, which is, this kind of lack of keeping it real. You're always flowery in the clouds type of mentality, and not bringing up the tougher issues, not really addressing extensively the tougher issues. And then they befriend each other, and you're even more restricted. You might as well be married. You befriend each other, you can't say nothing, and it's not anything. The friendship is not based off of being able to just keep it real with each other. It's just based off of pleasantries and all this other things. And now here we are. So I'm okay, I guess is what she's telling me. Is this what she's telling me? Like that she feels like they own the space? Because all those people that she named, I'm pretty sure if you take a look at the numbers, the YT women are making way more views than the BLK women. So I never understood the partnership. I never understood it. I was like, I don't understand this partnership. It's so dumb. Like, it's like the BLK women aren't even really benefiting from partnering with you. I don't know why they did it. I don't get it, you know, because they're not really seeing that translate in the same way that these YT ladies are. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I kind of feel like if there's a partnership, then like both parties should at least somewhat equally be benefiting from that, you know, and I don't see that it's all that equal. Okay. In my opinion. Okay. So I never really even understood the partnership, but apart from that, I'm not understanding this mentality of like, we own the space. Okay. This is what I didn't want to get trapped in. This is why I'm like, I'm just going to build my stuff nice and slow, like chilling, doing my own thing. Like, because I knew this was going to happen. Like I've seen it, I've witnessed it, especially when it comes to women, you know, like especially when it comes to women. This is how women think. This is what happens when it comes to women. Like we've all been coexisting. So you can't coexist when someone challenges your views. You can't coexist when someone challenges you on what's literally just the truth. It's literally the observation and it is valid. You can't coexist with women that have differing opinions than you. That's a problem, right? That's why it always fails. That's why I say a matriarchy is not possible. Yeah, it's like testing humans are different. I don't know what y'all are talking about in the comment section. So, okay, y'all. So that's the thing. This is why I say a matriarchy is not possible, because again, the reason why I'm seeing all of this is because I'm like, okay, YV edit, you sent a lot of your minions after this lady for pointing out the truth. And now you have this whole video, you know, crashing out because you, I guess, disagree with what the lady is saying, right? Let's look at this response and then we'll come back to this video, because coming back to this video will give me time to look up the next response on, actually, I might not need to do that now that I found it on here, but we'll see. So let's look at this response. I finally found it, y'all. I found it. Okay. This is insane, by the way, y'all.
And YV got married at 19 fucking years old.
Oh, that's where I heard it from.
So from my understanding, YV got married at 19 fucking years old. She was never even able to be an adult, but she's on here giving advice to women on who men are. So she never got the experience of seeing men IRL. She's just, you know, watching videos, watching TikToks, watching Love Island, talking about what she thinks, even though she has been brainwashed since before 19, obviously, because they had to know each other, correct? You think you know men when you have been married since you were 19 years old, right? Before the frontal lobe developed, you made that decision, and now you think you fucking know men from TikToks. To me, it all sounds like a grift, and I think that she's also just yapping and saying everything that everyone else is saying online. Like, what experience do you actually have? Her entire lived experience has been under a man, right? And I've talked about this in several videos of mine where women marry young, and then what happens? Their man dumps them by like 33, 34, something like that, right? And he goes to something younger, because why would he want to stay with you? But no, not her man. She's perfect. She picked the right one at 18 years old, and she just knows better, and blah, 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 blah. From my understanding, YV...
Child, that Victoria, exactly. That Victoria, exactly. I was like, oh, clutching my pearls. Oh my gosh, like clutching my pearls. What? But yeah, Looney 28, she is right. You see what I'm saying? Like, these are all good points. And the fact that like she's trying to bury this good points with gaslighting makes no sense to me. How can you say, well, it doesn't really matter? Ma'am, it does matter. This is crazy. Even I didn't know that. I said it earlier, like, I think she's been married from 19. Where did I hear that from? Apparently, this is where I heard it from. Here, right here. I just heard Yo, this is wild. Like, it's a good point. If you've been married since you were 19, what do you know? You've literally been with one person. How can you even sympathize with the plights of like these women that you're having following you? You know, these are good questions and they're fair questions. You know what I'm saying? Oh, she married. So Stacy says, and let me put it in the line, y'all, because this is where I heard it from. I don't know. I don't know the lady. I don't know when she actually got married, but apparently around 1920. Stacy says that she got married at 20 and she's 33 years old now. Okay, fair. So this is what's going on, you know. So she got married at a very, very young age. And it's true, the frontal lobe doesn't develop till at least 27, 28 on most women. Okay. So the math's not mathing. It's true. These are good points. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to address this. It's just going to keep coming up because more and more the women are going to be like, wait, what? And you sending your little minions over there is not going to be helpful because now I see like, oh, you see someone says, I call her performative 4B. Okay. Like y'all I hearted the comment because that was a good one. That made me laugh when I saw it. Not because I'm against anybody, but it was really funny to see the performative 4B issue. But like, you have these comments. This comment says, I literally think YB is, I don't even know if I can read these out loud, y'all. Like, I literally think YV is a plant sometimes. Also, she acts like she speaks for BLK women. It really rubs me the wrong way. Child. Okay, I hadn't even seen. Okay, y'all, this is insane. Because I didn't have that much time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just went into this issue today because it became more and more of an issue. And I said, dang, these women haven't figured it out yet. Like, what's going on? Like, the fight is getting worse, you know? So I just dove into this today. So I've seen some comments, but these comments are new. I haven't seen these comments, maybe because I was looking through on the comments on my phone. But you know, isn't that what I was saying? If you look at the numbers, I don't even know why these BLK women collab with any of these YT women. I'm not trying to be mean, and nothing against them, but I'm just kind of like, it's not beneficial to you. You literally are getting 1/4 of the views that they get. All they're doing is rubbing you of your, you know, most of your viewership, but it's not really translating the other way around, in my opinion, when it comes to the numbers. So I don't see how it's beneficial, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just, from a numbers perspective, I don't see how it's beneficial. She seems pretty knowledgeable about the different social systems and classes. There's enough space for all. That's true too. Why is it saying report? That's true too. So this comment says she seems pretty knowledgeable about the social systems and classes, and there's enough space for everyone. Yeah, I believe that. I think there's enough space for everyone. Like I said, I think the biggest challenge for these women, not just her, because there's a lot of them, is just the fact that like they're not really able to explain to us the discrepancy. It's such a big discrepancy. You got to be able to explain that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really the biggest challenge. But yeah, I think I don't, you know, if she's knowledgeable about the social systems and classes, you know, knowledge is one thing. There's a lot of women that might listen to it because they feel like there's knowledge in the content that's being put out. So that's true too. That's a good point. You know, you don't know males if you're married to them. Ooh. What do y'all think about this? Because this is already, you don't know males if you are married to them. You can be married to them for 3 decades and you still don't know that male. You know, that might be I don't know. I've never been married. I'm not married. So that might be a good point though. I feel like, but do you really know anyone, you know, if you're married to them? You can't really fully know a person ever, you know. Is your Is your dog a boy or a girl? Huh? I always thought it was weird. Oh, I always thought it was weird with YV being married, and Cecilia talks about how great her dad is constantly. So I don't even know who Cecilia is, y'all. What's going on? That's yet another name that I'm not even familiar with. There's so many people that's pulled into this. I didn't even know this was happening. I'm like, this is wild. So what are their actual real life experiences? Mind you, my doggo is always a girl. Female dogs are more protective. Child, the dogs have been brought into it. Now the dogs have made their way into the conversation. The dogs have entered the chat, y'all. The dogs have entered the chat. I've been watching the YV edit for 1 year now, and almost all of her experiences with males come from reading Reddit posts or watching TV shows. Child, don't call me biased, because I put a like on this one too. Okay, you can't call me biased. I put a like on this one too. But I like this one because it makes sense. Because if she's been married for that long, since the age of, 19 or 20, then that's the only place her experiences could possibly come from. So it does make sense, to be fair. All jokes aside, that does make sense, right? With men come from Reddit posts or watching TV shows, and you're correct. She went straight from growing up religious to marrying. So, she grew up religious. Does anyone know if that's true? Put it in the chat if you do. Apparently she grew up religious. Okay, did not know that. To marrying, so she barely has any experience with dealing with males in everyday life, except with her one husband. That's it. I'm telling you, the comments will lit you up. Like, you will learn so much about an individual just by reading these comments. I'm like, how do you all even know all this about this person? Like, how do you even know all this about this person? Like, how is it possible to know this much about some random person? So Stacy says she said that she and her husband deconstructed their Christianity. Okay, so in YV Edit's defense, her and her husband apparently have deconstructed their Christianity. Okay, which is fair. That's fair. We can't say that, because this and that, you can't then later on do the work to deconstruct your Christianity. Okay, so that's good. Something was always, so now I'm seeing why she had to respond. Okay, so these are the comments she's talking about. Maybe. No, she said that the comments were on her page. So I didn't see those, but I mean, there's comments here too. So something was always off with YV. Girl. Exactly. I was made to get married at 16 in KY by an ignorant religious mother. Grew up in chaos too, left him, and then I met a narcissist. I took all the courses in Lived Experience 101. She's a naive girl reporting buzzwords and talking points. Child, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? Because these make sense to me. So many perspectives to consider, but you cannot avoid the truth, okay? You can't have experience with males when you've been with one male from the age of 19 or 20. Be epically for real, okay? However, can you sit down, process through the information, and like hear the information in other places and just repeat the information? Sure. And I feel like that's valid too, because like I said before, a lot of women have to hear the same information over and over and over again before it actually starts to stick. Okay. But I don't know. Maybe it's because she's delivering the message as if she's the one coming up with it, and she's not the one coming up with maybe that's the issue. The core of the content, is that the problem? Sparkly says, hi, Sparkly Unicorn. Thanks for joining. I thought her video sounded so weird, like she was exaggerating everything to make it sound like it's an extreme perspective and can't be taken seriously. Oh, see, that's what I just said. I was like, maybe it's because she's saying it as though she's the one coming up with this content. Because that's what, like, from the comments I'm reading, it sounds like, okay, maybe she's saying it as though she's the one coming up with these perspectives, and she's not. And to make matters worse, she couldn't be, because she's been married for so long underneath a patriarchy. I mean, that's probably what the problem is, you know. Stacy says, all I care about is that she's right about males. That's fair too, you know, because she could be reporting different content, you know what I'm saying? But I think that, you know, the content that is in demand is more and more women wanting to be liberated from the male species and the oppression that comes with being tied to the male species. So this is the content that's in demand, because more and more women are looking for the freedom from males. Okay, so it's more beneficial to talk about that. And I think that's a fair thought. You know, it's fair if what you care about in and of itself is that she's correct about her view on males. That's a fair thought too. Like I said, a lot of women have to hear the same content over and over again for it to actually stick, right? I'll say this, you know, because I'm like, you know, this is just a shame. It's just a shame. They're all these women fighting each other. This is a shame, you know. But I'll say this, you know, I don't think it's appropriate to send your Mean Girls group to attack one person. I think that's inappropriate. Okay. And we'll look at another video from yet another content creator that still dates males, y'all. She still engages with males, but she's not like the sprinkle lady. She doesn't admit that she does that, but she does do that. So she was called out for doing that, while at the same time preaching about decentering content. And they all attacked this lady. I don't think that's appropriate. I'll say that. At the same time, I think it's fair, you know, if someone wants to watch the content because they like the messaging, not necessarily because of who the message is coming from, then, you know, you have that, you know. But I think that unfortunately, the topic of discussion here apparently is that the messengers are being questioned. So which is unfortunately also very, very fair considering the topics that we're talking about. Yeah. She sounded like she was trolling. So Sparkly says, yeah, she sounded like she was trolling, like she didn't believe her own words. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I'll be one of the reasons why, like, when I first started seeing all of these topics come up more and more, I gave everything a fair shake. I listened to most of everything for the most part. And then I started kind of slicing down based off of how relatable that was to me. Okay. That's what I use. It's like, okay, so I don't do a lot of YV edit content because I just don't feel like that's relatable, because she's married. I don't feel like it's relatable enough for me. Okay. Because it's like, I'm not married. You are. So I can't really fully be, knowing that I can't fully be engaged with the messaging because that's a big discrepancy in our daily experiences. Okay. And it was never acknowledged. It's not like the sprinkle lady. The sprinkle lady, I could listen to that lady, drops gems a lot in her videos, you know, and she doesn't really do, her primary content is, okay, well, I have a male and this is how I did it. You know, I use them for these funds and this is how you can do it too if you want a male. Okay. So that's content that resonates a little bit more with like her lifestyle. And so the reason how I started slicing and dicing when I first started, and like it was like all of this content, and I was watching them, you know, and how I started narrowing it down is like, okay, how much does it relate to me in my life? YV edit, she's married, you know, so there's not much. Some of her content that she put out is okay. Like I liked some of the content, but I can't really consume much of it because she's married. So I don't relate in in the fundamentals with her. Okay. Same with some other content creators as well, or maybe, I don't know. It's one of those things that it just depends on each person, right? So Vet Victoria says, unfortunately, most people can't really separate the message from the messenger these days, especially when everything is out in the open. It demonstrates their consistency to their values and beliefs. Woo! Well, I can't argue against that, Vet Victoria, because it's true, I guess. It's true. It's true. A lot of people, look, this is what I'll say about this, and I said it at the beginning of the live. This is going to continue to be an issue. And it's going to continue to grow more and more. I will be doing commentary on all sides. Okay. And I will say, okay, I get this side. I kind of resonate more with this side, but this, I feel like it's going to continue to be an issue because of exactly what Vet Victoria just said. Okay. Like a lot of people are looking for like what relates best to them. And, as this continues to be an issue that we're pretending is not there, okay? Because it's like her and her followers are just like, it's like trying to act like, oh, this is not a big deal. Man, this is a very, very big deal, because at the very least, it shows that there's no way on Mother Nature's green earth that she's coming up with the content herself. This is not original content. This is content that she's getting from here, getting from there, which there's nothing wrong with. There's nothing new under the sun. But I think because it goes unaddressed, because these married content creators don't really address it and admit that, it becomes this issue, right? It becomes this, okay? Like, so I just... I don't know. It would have been I would have, from my perspective, let me know what y'all think. I would have been more engaged with the content as a viewer if she would have came out and said, the type of content I make is from like a married woman's perspective. This is how you can decenter your husband for the day. This is how you can do self-care for the day. But I think she didn't go that route because what's really hot right now is women not wanting anything to do with males, because the women really want more liberation from males. So, but I think that would have helped, because there's a lot of married women that need that. There's a lot of married women that are like stuck in these marriages that need to know, maybe as you take your own journey, they would have probably really liked to follow you on that journey as to like how you learned to decenter your husband a lot more, especially as this becomes more and more of a societal issue. Okay. But yeah, you're going to hit some people that don't care, some people that really just resonate primarily with the message. But I think more and more it's going to become an issue with more and more people that do care, that this continues to be unaddressed, right? So it's a mess. But yeah, it's the fact that she said that out loud, y'all, like, it's like she's saying all the quiet parts out loud, giving me heart attacks, like, I'm like, oh my God. It's like someone saying the quiet parts out loud, y'all. It literally, that's what's happening. Let me see.
Imagine having to create fake AI images of someone to paint them a certain way instead of just finding like real proof of them being so and so. All these labels, right? You had to create and share fake AI images, and I can't imagine being this fucking dumb, but I do believe it, because most of the population reads at a 6th grade reading level, and I think that's a global stat. I could be wrong, but I believe it's correct. This was never actually about women. It was about politics. It was about putting yourself in a box to be accepted by women, performing, right? You have to perform on this stage, especially for men, especially for politics, especially for the internet. That's what I find most interesting about this, is that it's all fucking fake, all right? I don't know if y'all noticed this, but some of y'all favorite creators don't talk about politics, the ones that are actual feminists, and they do that for a reason, because they're aware that it's a divisive tool to divide women. Same with religion, but I get it. It is your comfort zone. This is you in your comfort zone, right? And then there's women all around, but you're gonna sit here in your little cult, right? And act like you're on a fucking high horse, thinking that you know everything and that you're better than everybody. Get it? Now you guys have the token white girl that is gonna keep creating content and keep coming on here and saying, it's that time of the month, everybody, where we have to come together and address other white people's problems. Like, that's so embarrassing. That's embarrassing. And I don't think a lot of women are ready to actually speak about who men are, especially when it comes to politics, especially the misogyny that's required of you to even be in politics. Like, you have to perform like a man in order to be in the game. Y'all are aware of that, right? You didn't know that? Don't actually understand the entire game that's around us. Y'all are in a little bubble, right? In this little bubble, you're talking about men, right? But in this little bubble, you also have men that go 50-50 with you, right? Because they just support you being an independent woman, right? Your comfort zone. But really, the men in here also don't fucking like you. And I talk about that as well. I don't think a lot of women want to talk about that, though, because the men who do 50-50 with you are also using you. And typically those are the ones on the left. Men on the left and the right don't care about you while you perform for the left and the right. How's the dance going? Imagine having to create fake AI.
Y'all, my jaw. When I say, I left a comment when I was looking at this, y'all. I left a comment on one of her videos and I said, holy smokes. I hadn't even seen these. I said, you are firing them. Like, she's firing them up. She's lighting fires under everybody's behind. Like, oh my God. And it's, I'm not going to lie. This is all true. It's like, you can't do anything but respect the audacity, like the cajones that it takes to come up here and just keep it all the way without trying to be nice. Okay. Cause this is someone that's like not worried about being nice, playing nice or whatever, right? This is just what it is. These are the facts. Okay. Unlike, she's right. Most of us, we try to like sugarcoat it. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, like sugarcoat it. We're not really being like all the way. And maybe that needs to change. I don't know, but like, it's refreshing, in my opinion, to have someone in the feminist space that keeps it all the way real. It's like, you need someone like this in the space. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that like everything that she said is 100% correct. Like, there's no arguing that it's all a performance. And girl, did she call out YT people? She said, like, now you have your little YT lead person that like is going to call the girl, what? I said, oh. I should have put on some pearls, y'all. You know, that's so dumb. I should have put on some pearls so I could have something to clutch, okay? Because it's like, it's true. All of it is so true. And, you know, now, and you can see, here's the thing. This is even worse, okay? Because you can see that what she's saying is true and that the women are not united. It's all a facade, because look at the comments that she's getting. Apparently this individual made some type of rude AI picture and posted it on her page. Like, literally this individual made some type of AI rude picture and posted it on her page. And, you know, next thing you know, they're going to be talking about how all women are united. I would have never said that, because I could clearly see that that's not true. I've been saying, y'all, look, a matriarchy is not possible because most women are not united. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. I'm just going to tell you so you can start processing through the disappointment of that. You know, from what I've been seeing, I don't see a way that it works. Okay. So this is a really good example, y'all, because it's like, she even said, oh, now we see all the little cliques getting together to attack a woman, you know? And not only that, like I said earlier, this woman is closer to the definition of decentering men than any of the women that you're supporting. Like, the women that you're attacking her on behalf of are literally all married. Can we make it make sense? Like, that's what doesn't make sense to me. It's like, what? Like, what is going on? Like, oh, and it's like, these are the women that you need because they're closer to whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish than the ones that are married. But it does make me think, and I hadn't thought about it this way before, but this does make me think, is it all performative? It's true, you know, because the reason why they stick to this particular topic is because that's the topic that's in demand with women. And I always say, y'all, even in the live earlier today, I said something, I talked about how most men that talk about these topics, guess who their biggest supporters are? Women. Women are their biggest supporters. So even men within the circle, men outside of the circle, none of them like women, and even women don't like women. I don't really know. So to me, really what it comes down to is like, okay, every woman for themselves, I guess. If you want more freedom and liberation, then you will look for that. Okay. If you don't, then you will stay stuck, you know, wherever you're at, or you would continue to do whatever you're at, whatever you're doing. Okay. But it starts becoming more and more clear how this happened to begin with, how this oppression of women, even though women are obviously smarter than the male species from like a mental capacity, a mental perspective, it's like, how is it possible that the smarter species ended up the oppressed, you know? And now I'm starting to see, oh, that's how it happened. Because it's wild, okay? And it makes sense also when you think about the fact that when males cheat, who are the first people that they blame? When males cheat, the first people they blame are women. They don't even blame the male that's cheating on them. You know, they go in and blame the women. So now it's like, you know, the Mean Girls group, I didn't coin the term. The term was coined here in the midst of this fight, okay? And it's just easier for me. I see it though. I'm not gonna act like I don't see it. I see it. I see Mean Girl vibes. I do see that, okay? But the Mean Girl group, coined by them in the midst of this fight, you know, have now, their following have now come and attacked this lady in full force, proving her point. Okay. And they're just going to go back to listen to the YT lady that probably doesn't, like, knows less of what she's talking about than the person that's actually living it on a daily basis. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense. I wish I could be more like, you know, but this doesn't make sense.
There's nothing wrong with marriage, especially if your beliefs are actually conservative and you come from a Ukrainian country, which is more than likely very conservative. There's nothing wrong with it in that regard, right? But I think what's wrong with it is if you are here talking about what the patriarchy does and you come on here talking about triangles and things of control, then why are you married for nearly 10 years? Why are you actively participating in the patriarchy, right? Because performing one way and then saying one thing, it doesn't exactly make your beliefs very solid, does it? No, it doesn't. It kind of makes you look like a grifter. And I'm not attacking women who are married. I understand that women get married for various reasons. Women also get put into marriage as children, right? There's so many reasons for it. And the design of marriage from the beginning, the only reason it exists is to control women. So if you are anti-patriarchy, then you should also be anti-marriage. And at least if you're coming online and preaching about it, at least stand 10 toes down that belief for yourself. Instead, maybe don't be on a platform talking about these things because you don't even follow what you preach, right? You're preaching a gospel that you don't even believe in, right? There's different types of feminists, right? There's ones that do it for a performance, right? And then there's other types that actually dig deep into every single layer of society and what is happening, right? Some women are on here performing They are actors pretending that they are anti-patriarchy while still obsessing over maybe finding a rich man and a rich provider, like that one faceless creator who does voiceovers in her coat closet. And then there's other women who are literally married. So to me, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. Oh, but then I'm going to be attacked because weren't you an SW? Weren't you also feeding into the patriarchy? I chose who I was making money from. I didn't get on my hands and knees and beg someone to marry me and love me and then pretend to yap about patriarchy, because I've never liked marriage, ever. That has never been a goal of mine. I would never come on here on my fucking high horse and pretend like I know what I'm talking about while actively participating in the fucking game, right? A game that doesn't benefit me as a woman at all. Am I raising a bad point to assume that maybe this woman is a conservative because it kind of aligns with Ukrainian beliefs? Does it not? I didn't know Ukrainians were liberals. Everyone is performing. Everyone is on a stage. It's all been a lie, essentially. And I think we need to address the lies in order to actually make changes. Not come on these platforms and just parrot nonsense when you don't even follow through with your own beliefs. I, however, do. Yeah. I stand 10 toes down on my beliefs. And I think that's a threat. There's nothing wrong with marriage, especially
Wow, this is wild, y'all. This is wild. I mean, she's like firing everybody up. Like, she's like exposing beyond exposure. Okay. Like, but I understand where she's coming from, because when I started diving more into this topic as well, I feel like I was a little bit more on the delusional side. I think I've talked about this before. I was very, very shocked to see what I was seeing. I feel like I was more on the side of thinking it was like a fairy tale, and you don't even know that it's a fairy tale until you're in it, like thinking like, yeah, of course, all the women, or most of the women, will be pro women, will be pro, this what feminism stands for, and will support each other. But I learned very, very early on, not the case. And I think I started voicing it. If you follow me on the community section, you would have probably started seeing me voicing that, snippets of that in my posts. Okay. And I was like, that independent thing, I think this is where I was meant to be, because no. That's not something I want to be involved in. So it's like when you get in it, you start to see it. And I think that's probably where she's at, where she's like, oh, that's not what I expected to see. Okay. And the more you get in it, the more you start processing and thinking, and you're going to end up in a very different place than someone who's processing and thinking about these things while married. Okay. You're not going to end up in the same place as someone who's processing and thinking about these things who's not married. Okay. You're going to end up in a different place. So it does create quite a discrepancy between the two. Okay. And most women that are married, because they're married, there's a certain amount of ego protection that has to happen when it comes to that. So they're not really going to be able to confront the full truth, especially if they don't feel like they're unhappy within their marriages. It's going to be a roadblock. They're not going to be able to do it. Okay. It's just the circumstances that they're in. They can't fully process through that, being in a circumstance where they live with a male. It would almost be like asking them to start disliking the male that they're married to. Their mind isn't going to allow them to do that. Okay. So there is a very real limitation to how far the married women can go. Okay. Because they're married. That's the point. That's literally the point of the patriarchy having this in place. Okay. And so that's fair to me, but I think she's viewing it from a performative standpoint, again, because these married women do not address these issues. Okay. Instead, I agree. It kind of sounds like they're on this high, y'all. Isn't that so cute? This is why I said I should have grabbed like my pearls. You can't really see it, but look. Anyways, you kind of have like these women on a high horse, you know, the way she was talking about it, where it was like, in our group, we've been collaborating just fine. Meanwhile, if I look at the numbers, which I did earlier today, because I was trying to like see what was going on here, I'm like, you're really the only ones benefiting from this. Like any BLK woman that participated with you, I'm not sure what was going on there, you know, because they're not really benefiting in terms of numbers like you are, you know. So I'm like, what's the point of that, of all that, you know? But at the same time, you know, it's not like she's spreading a message that's not a good message. So I don't think anyone should be made a villain here, but that's quickly what this has become. Okay, like literally, like this side is saying this person is a villain, and then this side is saying this person is a villain, and now it's a mess. Okay, but it is a very stark limitation, and you're going to end up in two very different places if you're married, because as you keep processing through all this, you're going to hit a roadblock if you're married, unless you want to start hating your husband. Okay, unless you want to start blaming your husband or thinking to yourself, why did I ever get married in the first place? It's so dumb. I got trapped, you know. Unless you want to start thinking these thoughts, you're going to hit a roadblock. Okay. And especially if you have males in your life that you never really viewed in that way before, and that you already care for, you're not going to be able to go beyond that. You're not going to be able to go beyond that. I think that's what she's talking about when she says, like, okay, I actually stand 10 toes down in what I believe. It's because she's not married. She doesn't have all these entanglements. So she's able to kind of push it further. Right. And so these are just the limitations. Okay. But I think if everyone just acknowledged their limitations, we'd work a lot better through these without it becoming this issue. Right. And I think this is the issue that women have as a collective is, I don't know. I don't know if they just hate each other more than even the males hate women, because males don't like you. And a lot of times I'm thinking to myself, you know, I can kind of see where they're coming from, because it's like, what's this? You know, the one thing males are so dumb. I'm sorry, but they are. But the one thing that they have going for them, and I say this all the time, is they operate as a collective. You can't say nothing to no male, okay, about some other male without them just insulting you just because you're a woman, okay? They operate as a collective, and women just don't have that. So the oppression will continue. And it's going to be there's going to be women that make it out of that, but it's going to be like a woman here, a woman there, a woman here, a woman there. You know, it's not going to be like as a collective, you know, at least not as of right now that I can see. Yeah. So Stacy says men are able to put secondary issues aside to achieve their to achieve their objective. Okay. And that's a really good way of putting it, you know, these kind of secondary issues, but you can't, like, we're not going to be able to move forward if the women can't, you know, if you have women that can't acknowledge these limitations, for example, okay, and then you have one that is pushing back on the ones with the limitations, and now we're all going at each other, and it's just kind of like, well, I saw this coming from miles away, because that what she's talking about is the same process I went through. Right? Because again, I came in kind of delusional in my opinion now, because thinking like, I didn't think it would look this way. You know, I was like, that's weird because you're saying things and you're married. And that's what I thought, because I put it in a live. I talked about it in a live, like, and I think I even made a poll like a few months ago about this married women issue. Okay. This married women and feminism. So it's kind of like I went through the exact same process that she's probably going through, where it's like, this is not making sense to me. And now I'm seeing more and more that the divide is because if you're a woman and you're married, you hit a limit. There's a limit. You can't go past that limit unless you want to kind of bring down the life that you had created before then and start all over. Okay. And most women are not going to do that. They're not going to want to bring it all down and start all over. Okay. So there's a limit there that they can't move past when it comes to these issues and processing through these issues. So you need the other side. You need these type of women here that are processing through beyond the limit, because otherwise it does become performative. Because if you're only processing up until the point of being married, okay, then you're just playing games. You're not even doing anything real. You're literally playing a patriarchal game right then and there, right? So it's just kind of like, it's a shame, but I think this further proves the point of like, you know, the women as a collective are not able to get through issues and discrepancies and disagreements. And when you're talking about things that have to do with the collective, you're always going to have those factors. You're always going to have those factors. And so it's just one of those things.
Well.
Okay, so I guess she voted for Trump, y'all. And so here she's like talking about why she did it, I guess.
Well, it appears we have made it here to show you that it doesn't matter how you vote. They're all the same. And if you still remain in this mindset that if you vote a certain way that you will find the right one, I can assure you, you won't. Okay? Two masks of the same system. Because why? Because the men created this system. Did we already forget?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think the Mean Girls Club has a good point, because they brought up the fact that like she voted for Trump. I think that's a good point. I mean, that's fair. If you did vote for Trump, that's a little weird. But at the same time, it's like, okay, a bunch of your males voted for Trump. So it's kind of like a mute issue when it comes to that. I've always said, even in this is what I'm saying. I think people need to think a little bit more how they position themselves, because even with me, like I've put polls out in my lives. I'm like, I'm independent. You know what I'm saying? Even during the thing, I was like, I pointed out stuff on one side, I pointed out stuff on the other side, and I got rid of people that were stressing my life out from my subscribership. Okay. Like, you know, because I'm not like, you don't gotta stay here if you don't want to. But I'm an independent, and I didn't vote, you know. So this is a non-issue for me, because I've always said like they both kind of suck. I remember saying that in a live, and someone was like, oh, they both suck. I'm like, they both suck to me, because if one side claims to care about said people, and yet we haven't really, the said people that you claim to care about so much haven't made any significant advancements in all the decades and all the time that you've been feeding off of their support, that doesn't make sense to me. And then you have the other side that insists on keeping women oppressed, cooking and cleaning on their knees in the kitchen. None of these sides make sense to me. Hi, So King B, thanks for joining. You know, so I've been saying that. I got polls out in my community section and all this stuff. So I don't really vote. I didn't vote. So I don't know why. I mean, she voted. So this is a good point that the Mean Girls Club brought up. I mean, if you feel like they're all the same, then why vote? Or maybe she says it in this live and in this video.
Are we blind? Right? I'm not. But it seems like some people think that this system matters more than women. So go figure. Men that are left-leaning, they hide their control behind a fake little feminism, pretending they're feminists. But then you peep the behavior in their actions, the things they say, and then you tell yourself, well, he said he was a feminist. He said he cared about women. But it appears that you still don't understand who they are, right? They say they believe women as a performance, okay? They are wearing a mask, all right? Are you keeping up? And I'm sure that some of y'all have had this happen to you. The use of therapy language to manipulate They're going to appear like they are emotionally intelligent.
What did I tell y'all in the video where I talked about males going to therapy? I said, be careful with that, because a lot of these males will go to therapy for like 1 or 2 sessions and they'll come back only to use it against you. Okay. And I'm saying that because I know, my clientele is 99.999% women. The males don't come. Okay, because they're not interested in any of that. They don't come. Okay, 99.999% all women. Okay, so I'm just letting y'all know. Okay,
about you and they love you, but in reality, they know exactly what they need to say. All right, to get what they want out of you. All right, they want a baddie in public, but someone submissive at home. The song that comes to mind is one of Cardi B's. I don't cook, I don't clean. Let me tell you how I got this ring. And then there's videos of her cleaning and cooking, correct? Yes, because it's all a performance. When you get into the house with a man, you have to perform. So it's not like doing that is bad if it's your choice. But I think pretending to be something that you're not while performing for these is kind of where it becomes a bit strange. Seems to be anti-patriarchy while having you pay 50-50 and you're like, but I'm independent. We are in a resource game. We're in a resource game. And you have now been tricked to pay this man's bills. Okay? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And then you're like, but what am I supposed to do? The true answer is detach. That is the truest answer. Okay? And it is very difficult. I understand. But it is reality. Of course, I'm sure everybody knows these because everybody likes to act like these are the only bad ones when really it's just a mirror of society split into 2, and then they have women on each side, and then we all fight each other for no reason, right? Even if you're in the middle, doesn't matter. The right-leaning men wear control as a badge of honor, all right? So you must submit. You're gonna make me the head of the household, and that's just how it is. That's just how it is, and you're gonna sit there and say, yes, bow down, right?
Yeah, child, this is crazy. Hold on, let me see something. What?
Some people live for the fortune. Some people live just for the fame. Some people live for the power, yeah.
Child, I think she's talking about the Mean Girls group. That's crazy. She's singing songs about it. My jaw is on the ground. Look what some lady said to her. Y'all, this is a woman saying, these are women saying these things, y'all. Look what she said. There's a comment that she left for this lady here saying, without that immigration law, your ASS would have been annihilated by RS Army. Child, I don't even know what that means. Is it because she voted for Trump and Trump is like not pro-immigration? Is that why she said this? That's insane. Oh gosh, y'all.
Flawed villain and the controversy around her and her content, right? Then, after a while, this screenshot started to circulate where you can see more of where this was said or where this was apparently said. You can see the video, right? You can see, again, the initial comment by Nicole. Now the profile pic has changed, which is important, but, like, the timestamp is still the same. Like, it still says that this comment was made an hour ago, and then also an hour ago, Flawed villain responded with calling black women a slur. And then you can also see some other comments down there. So me being curious, because I've been following this whole thing for a bit, and then Flawed talked about how these comments are fake. And to be honest, at first I thought, yeah, that sounds like a really convenient excuse to be like, oh yeah, someone faked this. But then I went in and I checked the actual comments.
Wow. So okay, let me read this comments to y'all. When I tell you this stuff got insane, I'm trying to tell you, because I sit down as an introvert, as a free person, I'm able to process through a million miles ahead and think, how do I want to position myself today? Okay, based off of that. Okay, and I knew it. I was like, I can't do it, because it's like you're gonna have groupthink, you're gonna have pressure to say this or not say that. You're going to have this and that. You're not going to be able to talk about nothing. Now I'm free. I can do almost whatever I want, pending, trying to avoid YouTube censorship. Okay. So it's like, this is insane, y'all. Let me read these comments to you. Okay. Again, I don't know who Cecilia Regina is. We're going to cover that in the next live, child, because apparently this is an ongoing thing. Insane. We're gonna talk about it. So Flawed Villain says, this lady says, so Cecilia Regina is mad at you too? Child. Okay. She's created a whole, so Flawed Villain then says she's created a whole narrative. Okay. So another commenter responds to that and says, she feels like she's not popular enough on TikTok. So she's attacking Flawed Villain to try to be relevant. I unfollowed them both. Child, what? No. Oh, I should have paused it. Sorry. Okay. I unfollowed them both. I will never support mean girls. F them. Sorry. You know how I get when it comes to... Why are you laughing? I don't know why I'm laughing. I just think because I keep saying child, like that's making me laugh. But this situation is insane, y'all. Like, this is really causing a significant divide here. So the OP then says, agreed. What happened to women supporting women? I can't help but say child. I've been saying child a lot this week. When the Dusty Diddy case was on and the juror got kicked out, I said child, and I had my little tea. I should have brought some tea before starting this live and sipped on it every time. When what's his name got sued, I was like, I need to wear permanent pearls so I can clutch them every time something like this comes up, So this is an issue. The next commenter said, I blocked them both. I blocked both of them recently as well. They started giving me vibes that they are miss know-it-all. And God left them. Does that say God? And God left them or something like that. Anyway, she blocked both of them too. Okay. So people are choosing sides, I guess, and I anticipate that even though she might have a decline now, if Flawed Villain continues to post, she will get that viewership back. She'll get like more followers and she'll continue to build from there. She just needs to like not stop. I posted on her thing and I told her, just don't stop. Just keep going. Okay. Don't stop. Just keep going. Because I really don't understand this epic, like, it's like they're all ganging up on one person. I'm like, why are we ganging up on people? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, you're just all ganging up on one person. Like, I just told her, look, the delusional women will stay there in the land of delusion. Okay. Just keep posting. Just keep doing what you do. All right. Because these topics that she's bringing up to me makes sense. I'm like, that's a fair question. If someone were to ask me that, I probably would say that. That would be my response. I would say something like, that is a discrepancy. And it's like, I wish I would have known what I know now. I would have said something like that, because that's like, as you gotta, if you're not performing, this is probably the type of response you'd arrive to, unless you're performing, but this mean girl vibes, I don't, it's like you're all conglomerating and attacking one person on social media and then asking why she blocked her comments. Are you for real? Like, it's like the level of gaslight. What do you mean? Why did she block her comments? Because you sent all your people to harass her on her page. They're leaving who knows what comments. They're using AI to generate pictures of her. This is where I see the most issue. Okay. Because I think both sides are trying to do what they can. Okay. But where I see the most issue is, okay, all of you are ganging up on one person. Okay. And it's like, she's building the stuff on her own for the most part, which is something that you guys weren't able to do. Okay. You grouped up to build what you've built so far. You have this person, you're collaborating with this person, you're doing this and this and that. So you've had, this whole group thing going in order to try to build more. So I think that is in and of itself commendable. And we need these types of minds within the space, like this space that they're claiming ownership of. And then naming the ones, I guess, with the most views within the space. It's like, this is what I'm saying. Like, women are just so delusional. Like, what are they even talking about? I don't even know what they're talking about. It's crazy.
See, it's now 13 hours later, because obviously, I went and checked later. But as you can see, the profile pic now is like the second profile pic from the second screenshot that circulated. However, the comments are different. Like, her comment that she made is completely different. And this is why I also said, pay attention to the timestamp, because now it says 13 hours ago the initial comment by Nicole was made, and immediately Flawed villain responds, and then there's different responses down there. So you can see that people are still talking in the thread. So she did not delete immediately, because it said it was there for an hour, but here it says at the same time, these comments were made quite initially. So you can see that the initial screenshots, or these screenshots that are circulating, are literally fake. How do you call someone out to be accountable, and then you go and fabric fake screenshots of them saying things they have not said? Why would you fake stuff? Why not just call out what is already there? Why would you fake?
Okay. Y'all, I don't understand. What is she talking about? Let me see something.
Different.
So do y'all I don't understand what she's referring
I
to.
thought, it sounds like a really, convenient excuse to be like, oh yeah, someone faked this. But then I went in and I checked the actual comment. And here you can see, it's now 13 hours later, because obviously, I went and checked later. But as you can see, the profile pic now is like the second profile pic from the second screenshot that circulated. However, the comments are different. Like, her comment that she made is completely different. And this is why I also said, pay attention to the timestamp.
I think the problem is she's talking about a screenshot that she didn't include here. I think that's the problem, because I don't know I don't see what she's talking about. I think there's a screenshot that she's okay, y'all. Let me see. Here it is. So Cecilia is now mad at you. All these. Oh, we figured it out, folks. Because I was like, what? Girl, what are you talking about? You sound nuts, bro. Okay, look. So apparently someone from the Mean Girls, I'm assuming YV Edit, I don't know. Someone from the Mean Girls group, I suppose, posted a doctored screenshot to try to bring this girl down so badly. Okay. They doctored the screenshot, y'all. This is insane. So this screenshot, can y'all see this? Hopefully you can see it. But this screenshot literally says, okay, this screenshot literally says, it's the same original comment 1 hour ago. And it says, so Cecilia Regina is mad at you too, right? Or so Cecilia Regina is mad at you, question mark, right? And then Flawed Villain says, all these, hold on, this isn't the way. Okay. Flawed Villain says, all these cats are, she put the cats emoji. Next thing we know, this is the tailored screenshot. Okay. Next thing we know, in the tailored screenshot, it says, so Cecilia Regina is mad at you, question mark. This is from 13 hours ago. And this from 13 hours ago says, she created a whole narrative. Child, who's going around? This is craziness. Like, who's going around doctoring screenshots? I don't even see how this helps anybody. Like, how is this in favor of one side or the other? Why would you do this? Oh my God. So that's what they're, because girl, I was like, girl, what are you talking about?
And then you can also see some other comments down there.
So let's read the comments, because I feel like that's going to give us a little bit more information on what's going on here. Because so there's someone's doctoring screenshots here, and and this being that we found this post on Flawed Villain's page, I'm assuming that they are trying to bring down Flawed Villain by doctoring these comments. Regina wanted this to be the race issue so badly, and it just isn't. She's being played by whoever is sending her these screenshots. She wants it to be a race issue so badly, she blocked me just because I commented that it was a fake post. Someone sent it to another content creator, and that content creator posted it or said whatever about, girl. This is just, when I told y'all this was a lot. It's just like, okay. So now we have someone else that sent something else and it was doctored, or who knows if they doctored it themselves, girl, I don't know. I'm confused. So did they or did they not say this? She said, I didn't say that, it's photoshopped. She didn't say anything about she created a whole narrative about Cecilia, right? And what she said, her original response was, all of these cats are, because all the women are, they're ganging up on her and they're all mad, right? So, child, why someone should make AI images to make someone look racist? That is so childish and stupid. So they're trying to make her look racist? I didn't see anything racist. Child, how does that make her look racist though? All these cats are, it was the original comment. She created a whole narrative. I don't see how that would make her look racist, but I think she made them. She is using them, or on her video, on her latest video. Yeah, she might have made them. Yeah. I left her a message on her page. I hope she leaves you alone and comes from a different perspective going forward. So I don't see how that makes her look racist. I don't see but I might be missing something, child. Like, because this just got so out of control that now we're doing a whole live about it. Okay, so we're trying to see what's going on, but people are doctoring pictures, and I think it might be the content creator herself doing that, like they said in the comments, and using it for content. So yeah, that's crazy, child. Hold on. Oh, and it continues.
Every full moon, the little boy.
to me, this is what all the women are looking like. Like all these content creators that are sending their minions over here to harass this lady for telling the truth. This is what they're all looking like. And it's like, okay, I don't know, but I this is just insane. Okay. Okay, y'all. Let me read this to y'all. So this commenter said to this lady, I am so invested in this drama. Cha, you and I both? I can't stop saying cha. That's how invested I am. Okay, you and I both. Okay, so this commenter says, I am so invested in this drama, feminist internal war. But to be objective, that YV edit and Cecilia thing has no chance against you. You are a dark triad sociopath. They are just media driven MK ultra woke. I'm amazed. I'm amazed that most women are attacking she's the closest form to the centering men that you can get, because the women that you're attacking her on behalf of, again, are literally married. It's stupid and it doesn't make sense. Even I've brought it up, but I don't really have this type of a platform on TikTok. Okay. So I've been thinking of starting to build the platform on TikTok, but we'll see how it goes over time. I take my time on everything for the most part, but it's like, this is not something that's like, and it's like the women trying to pretend like this is something that like you can just, I don't know what to say to them, but it doesn't make sense. That's why it's true. It's giving very, very performative vibe. Okay, quickly, are we fighting BLK women or the patriarchy? Okay, wait, who's fighting BLK women? When did that happen? Me, when I'm too lazy to actually look into discourse and make my own assumptions based on the random people I have said. Okay. Me, when I lie. Girls, as a BLK woman, I'm tired of this. We were so close, literally so close to uniting as women and fighting the patriarchy. But here we go again. This kind of resonates with what some of y'all have been saying here, right? So she says, we were so close, but here we go again. The war has now turned to BLK versus YT women. Yikes. Oh, she brought up the whole race issue in that other short that we watched. Remember, y'all? Like when she was like, oh, now you have your YT woman who's the lead, and she's like, okay, everybody, let's get together. But I agree with her on that. I started the live by saying that, and I hadn't even watched that. I agree with her because, again, and I keep repeating this, but it's like the truth. That's how I see this. It's like, I'm not understanding why they collaborated with a YT. Now, you can agree with her, but like they went all in and formed a group with her. And y'all aren't even getting the benefits from that. Like, I really don't see it benefiting you all that much. So why did you do it? I'm not sure. The war has now turned to BLK, but it doesn't have to be a BLK versus YT women issue. But apparently that's what we're facing, y'all. Apparently that's what we're facing. Okay, that's why I'm here on a Saturday evening when I would usually be doing something else, maybe in my jacuzzi, literally my jacuzzi downstairs, making this live because it's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, like, okay. Now that we've gone back another 10 years, she said we've gone back another 10 years. We'll just have to wait for the next generation to fight this war. She has a point, I don't know. I didn't really, I remember that, but I didn't really see it as a race issue. But I mean, the race thing is there. I mean, what are you going to ignore the fact that it's true? You got these YT women, and a lot of the support that these YT women are getting are from BLK women, which I never understood, because I'm like, I don't get that. I looked at it today, and then I saw it even reflects in the numbers. It's not even just me thinking like, there's no way you're benefiting as much as this YT woman. I looked at the numbers, and I'm like, you're not. So I don't really know why they're doing it. Soaking B says, I don't know. Red pill males fight all the time over BS. That's true. Well, do they? I don't know. Do they fight all the time over BS? But apparently, red pill males fight all the time over BS. Ideological differences are normal, and people who freak out over them are soft with poor conflict tolerance. Yeah, I think that's true too. That's what we were talking about earlier. So King B is like, this is the problem with women as a collective, you know, because it's like you have the Mean Girls group acting like they blind, you know, making excuses as to the fact that like they're literally married and trying to guide other women through decentering males. You cannot fully decenter a male when you're married to one. It's stupid, it's idiotic, it doesn't make sense. You can decenter the male up to a certain point, but you can't fully decenter them. This is the question. Why is it so hard to just admit that? I don't know. I don't know why that's so hard to admit. I don't know why that's so hard to confront, but the women refuse to admit it. The women refuse to confront it. Here we are. I saw this coming months ago, okay? And y'all know me. As soon as I see it and it finally happens, I'm getting on the live and I'm being like, remember when I said, wah, wah, wah. That's forever it. Like, remember when I told you that one thing was going to come up? Here we are, okay? It's like, I think this is the issue, is that like women can't, they're not able to function as a collective. Yeah. The two dudes are falling apart. No, so King B, for real? Stop it, y'all. Why do y'all do this to me? Why? For real? I've said in one of my podcasts, I said those dudes are misogynists. I call them misogynists. I couldn't even remember their name. Someone in the comment section reminded me of their name, and I commented, and I was like, yeah, those degenerates right there. Yeah. So Soaking Me says, fresh and fit. Those two dudes, fresh and fit, are literally falling out. Adin Ross betrayed Andrew Tate. Jake Paul's fandom turned on him for loving his family. Child. But they're collapsing then. They're not making it then in that case. So that means it's kind of like foreseeing the future for the women as well. And it's like I feel like the males lasted a lot longer than the women did, because it's like the males literally lasted 10 plus years in this manosphere thing that they're doing, and they're just now all crumbling, falling like dominoes. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know males are catty and more emotional. I say that all the time. Males are super emotional. There's no reason why you should unalive someone for saying no to you, for not wanting to go on a date with you. But yet here we have the mass of males will unalive you for saying, no, I don't want to go out with you. You got to play all these games, give them a fake number, and then block them once you've left their vicinity so that they don't unalive you. They are emotional and complete psychos. Yeah, I know that fact, but I did not know Fresh and Fit. I didn't know they had fallen out. That I did not know. So this is a mess, y'all. Like, I'm invested in it too. This is just insane.
Until I started talking about women, I'll admit that I was kind of like, dang, like what is she talking about? But then I started reflecting about my own experiences with women, and I was like, damn, I think she's right. Women.
When I went through the same thing I said earlier. When she was talking about women, I kind of agreed with some of the stuff that she was saying until I saw what was going on in that same group. And I was like, the way that I function isn't gonna like operate well with this. Okay. So I gotta do my own thing. But when it comes to women, I guess this is what she's talking about.
Are in competition with each other. Women will turn on each other, and women will be fake with each other. One example here that I'm really confused about, I've never been a fake person. I never pretend to like people just so.
Okay, wait. Let me read these comments, child, because this is crazy. So we just had another person enter the chat. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know how I get when it comes to drama, okay? Like, I feel bad for looking like I'm enjoying it, but I'm not. The drama is here. What do you want me to do? It's like, what do you want me to do? It's right here. It's right here, y'all. It's right here. I'm just a messenger, okay? So someone else has entered the chat. Queen, so how do you say this word? Sovereign, okay, has entered the chat, and she says she's single. So I guess she's talking about Flawed Villain. So she says Flawed Villain I'm editing that part so y'all know who she's talking about. She didn't say flawed villain. She said she's. But basically, flawed villain has single-handedly ruined what we have built. Chad. Yeah, you see why I keep saying Chad? Because what else am I supposed to say? What else am I supposed to say, y'all? What am I supposed to say? So she says that flawed villain has single-handedly ruined or is single-handedly ruining what they've built. This is what I'm saying. Like, are women delusional? What did you build? You didn't build anything. You literally just hopped on the bandwagon. This is what the people wanted. This is what women wanted. They wanted more content that was more women-centered because they wanted to be free from the males and the oppression of males. You just hopped on that bandwagon. There's nothing that what did you build? I don't understand what they think they built. Okay. This is the problem with joining this group here, joining this group here, joining this group there. It's like you lose independent thought, right? It's like you lose perspective by doing that, So I'm like, a child, all of you attacking one person does not, I don't see how this is helpful, because it's like yet another one has entered the chat to continue the attack, y'all, apparently. Let's see what she has to say about that, okay?
Like people, I don't follow people I don't like. I also don't pretend to pick sides and just try to remain neutral when I'm not, right? In reality, this is really just showing a lot of people's weird behavior. It was never about a movement, right? It was about creating a clique online, right? Cecilia Regina here. The entire movement was really a sham. I really thought, well, actually, I didn't think. I was like, this is my story. I'm going to come on here and I'm going to use some hashtags that are relevant to what I'm talking about. But then I realized, there was a few women on here that, talked about the same thing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But per usual, women don't know how to collaborate. It's all a competition. It blows my mind to see Regina George pay for bots to come to my page instead of paying a social media manager or a content strategist, if you will, to maybe help her. But instead, she spent money towards me. And to me, that's truly flattering, actually. Regina George also made a video about me, so if y'all can go.
She paid for bots. Y'all, we're paying for bots now to go attack this woman? Is this for real?
Do your thing over there, that'd be cool. Because they are clearly using AI images to try to paint a narrative, right? And something about me is I will never be a fake ass bitch, all right? I've never been a fake ass bitch on here. Was I uncomfortable on here when I first started making content? Absolutely. But as I created more and more, I became more and more comfortable with being myself. And I don't think the same thing could be said about other creators that come on here and kind of act like they know everything, but in fact, they were also stealing their content from other people on Blogspot and YouTube and etc. It's a little weird at this point. I guess my purpose here is to just reveal the truth, as I've always been revealing about either men and maybe even women, because society is fucked on every level, right? So if society is fucked on every level, that means we have to deconstruct all fake shit. And so that means we have to deconstruct all the fake shit so that we can actually build something that's real and not pretend like we're building something, because it's clear that none of this was real. It was all political. It was never about bringing women together. It was just about creating a cult on the left, right? Truly flat.
She's presenting some good points here, because if it was real, if it was about bringing women together, this is not the type of response that we would be seeing. You know what I mean? And I think, to be fair, I resonate with her a little bit more because she's not married. Okay. So I understand that level of in-depth thought, because with you not being married, you have more freedom. Okay. What comes with that is freedom. Okay. When you're married, no matter how you slice and dice it, that freedom is limited. Okay. Because as you process through these things, what you're not going to want to do is talk yourself into hating your own husband if you don't feel like you already felt that way to begin with, right? You're not going to want to talk yourself into hating your best friend who's a male. You know, you're not going to be able to do these things. Okay. So you're, again, limited. Okay. So the thing is, I went through kind of like the same process. That's how I determined, like, yeah, this is kind of like the direction I want to go. This is, I'll build my stuff slowly. And I almost feel like even if it were to like build to a point where there's just like a ton of people here, it would be okay. I would probably get used to it, but it wouldn't be as nice as it is now, because there's a certain level of freedom that comes with not having to deal with that, you know, because like in my podcast, for example, I'll use comments to kind of like illustrate these points. But here I'm a little bit freer to say what I want, you know? So it's all kind of like this balancing act, this game, right? And what, to her point, it's true. It's like, well, if it were really all about uniting women, we wouldn't see all of y'all, you know, ganging up on one woman for making points that are true. That making points that make sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. So King B says, did she ruin it though? They're gonna be back in business in a week. FFS, stop whining. What's FFS? What's FFS? So King B. I don't think anyone is gonna be out of I don't think anyone's gonna be out of business because of this. I just think it's a shame because, like, now the whole thing is divided, y'all. I don't know. I just think the whole thing is divided. I don't think anyone's necessarily going to be out of business. I just think that, like I said earlier, now you start to see people picking sides, right? So the whole thing's divided, and you can't, you know, you can't really take you can't take it as seriously, okay? Because, you know, all these points that are being brought up again, instead of us just addressing these things, it's like really, really becoming a thing where a lot of people are defensive about these things. Okay. So it really does bring out the issue where is it really real when one person is being attacked by a group of you? Okay. That's the part that I'm stuck on. I'm like, how can you send all your minions over here to attack one person? That doesn't make sense to me. You know, like, what? You know, that's completely wild to me. And then expect her not to turn off the comments when you have all your psychos after her. It doesn't make sense, right? Rape is deserved the gulleton. Thanks for joining. I'm kind of like sliding on the name. I don't want YT to like censor my live. So she says many of the names she dropped are a little problematic. One defended a male friend as a good person, though he admitted to constantly cheating. Child, who? No. Don't tell me who. I don't even, y'all. But that's crazy. I could see that. Several she mentioned are married and dating males, you know, but I will still take the good points they make, although you're my favorite because you don't do the BS followers. You don't BS your followers at all. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. This is where we're at, y'all. So when it comes to this, I mean, I see this as, here's the thing. One thing that I don't like to see is, especially online, is a group of women ganging up on one person. Okay. That doesn't make sense to me. To me, that's enough for me to say, yeah, she's right. It's all a facade. Can you be so for real? Can you be so for real? Especially when the points that she's making are true. These are all points that I've made, but maybe I stayed safe. I stayed safer because I'm primarily on YouTube and I'm not really that much on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? And also I have, you know, sometimes I might sugarcoat things here and there for the ladies, because I know the ladies, this is how they are. I know what they are like, which is how I decided on how to move forward as I continue to gain experience within the social media space. It's like, yeah, I can't be a part of any group because you get in there thinking it's one thing. oh, because we're women, we support each other, and then you find out it's something else. You find out it's a cult or something insane. You know what I'm saying? And I can't operate within such a structure, because I need to be able to think. Okay. I need to be able to say, like, well, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. However, XYZ, or I think we're being a little bit harsh there. Or I did think that at first, but now I'm looking at it, that's not making sense to me anymore. Okay. So I need to be able to process through my thoughts, right? So, oh, thanks, Fat Victoria. Thanks for joining. This will be posted for a little bit, so you can catch it later as well. So, that's the thing. That's why I was thinking, okay, here's the thing. Like, I can't. So even as I was gaining that experience within the social media space, I made that distinction, and I chose how I wanted to move forward. Right. What do y'all, I mean, I don't know, y'all. Like, do you think that, I don't know how, okay, first of all, one of my questions to y'all is, how are you able to continue to listen to people when you know that these people are literally not aligned with what they're preaching? And on top of that, they're not really addressing the fact that they're not aligned with what they're preaching. Like, I don't see how that's possible in my mind. Like, it would be too hard for me to do, So she's saying, Priscilla is right when it comes to that. And maybe. So y'all.
The easiest route I could have taken was lied on that live. And put myself in a box to make myself more digestible.
This goes on forever. We're gonna have to just keep going with the discussion in the next live, because this is wild. It's been going on, and it's like forever. And the back and forth. I mean, this video right here is like an hour plus. We only got through 7 minutes of it. I'm like, what is going on here? We only got through 7 minutes of it, and I'm just like, ugh. So we're not going to get through all of it today, but we will keep talking about this next week, right? Like, probably maybe on, I don't like to say days, because then if I don't make the day, I feel bad. So it's like next week, we're going to get to it next week. Okay. And keep track of the community section, because, we'll get through, I'll post on there as well, but this is insane. So the whole thing is crumbling down already. With the manosphere, at least they held on for 10 plus years. The manosphere people held on for 10 plus years. It's only been, how long has it been? Like, the women are at each other's throats. The whole thing is crumbling. Like, it's a mess, y'all. This is not surprising. This is not surprising. I'll say that, okay? Because this is the reason why I chose the points that I chose, the path that I chose in how I went about dealing. I said, look, I need my peace. Even when my Patreon was starting to get too stressful, like, they were like messaging me over tech difficulties. Like, what do I look like, a tech person? Like, it's like, and it's like, I was like, okay, there's people that are trying to get all the content for dang near free. And that doesn't make sense to me either. I was like, we're changing it. We're changing it. There's a certain flexibility that comes with being able to move without like a ton of millions of eyes on you, I suppose. So that's probably why. Yeah. So RDTG says, good points all around. Some women just take longer to learn the hard way, but I'm just going to keep being a girl's girl regardless. No mean girls. Lots of love to you. Enjoy your weekend. Yeah. So that's one choice, right? Like, just kind of, you can keep listening. I don't know, y'all. I've been listening to a lot of entertainment content, because that's kind of where we're at. So yes, we will continue this conversation. I think we'll maybe listen to this last. We didn't even get to like the second player in this. So we're going to do a part 2. That's going to be the next live that we do, because this is long. I did not anticipate for this issue to be this long. Okay. So I did not anticipate that. Okay. So we're going to continue in a part 2. Let's listen to this one, this one or two last ones as we close up, because y'all know I don't like to just suddenly close. And we'll do a part 2. I might even put out another poll. This is going to be like clearly an ongoing issue. I think it's fine if you want to keep listening to the Mean Girls Club. Again, not coined by me. Okay. I couldn't do it though, just because, again, now the facade is gone. You know, now you see that, look, they're not even for real about any of the things that they talk about. The manosphere are holding together for millions of dollars, not because they are less catty. Yeah, that could be true too. Oh, that is true, because a lot of the views from the manosphere is women, though. You got to think about that too. There's a lot of women that supported that manosphere nonsense. You know, even with Kevin Samuels, the bird brains that would call into that channel just so he could insult them in public in the middle of the males, you know. So that's true too. But the women are in there too, in that manosphere space. And it's true, they make a lot of money from it. But what's, at least, you know what, So King B, I feel like at least that's an excuse. Okay, you're making a lot of money from it, but what excuse do these women have to be doing this? They're not making as much money as the manosphere bros are from the content that these manosphere people put out. I don't think, anyway. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it's like, at least the manosphere has an excuse. What excuse do we have, right? Not just that, but they're always in the recommended shorts when you make a new account. That's true. They're always in the recommended shorts, you know. We'll keep talking about it. We'll keep talking about it, y'all. Let me see. Yeah, RDTG says we are sensitive to criticism. Right there. Because even I, sometimes I'm like, okay, let me sugarcoat this, because otherwise it's like they're not going to get it, you know. But it's like, the women are very, very sensitive to criticism. So it's like, you have to tell them the facts. Like, for example, I've talked about this, but I didn't specifically target someone. I didn't say this specific content creator sucks because they're married. I just said married content creators. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand how you can like say these things and you're married, you know? So things like that. But I think it's important to have these type of like individuals in the space as well, because they bring an additional layer of things that are very real, that need to be talked about, that need to be addressed, you know. So let's tackle one or two more shorts, and we'll wrap up part 1. And I will go ahead, I might schedule part 2. We'll see if I schedule that today or on Monday or Tuesday. So keep track of the community section for part 2. Chad, I don't know how many parts this is about to be, because this beef has been going on for like 2 weeks, a week and some change. And all of the women, again, are coming here attacking this one lady, wild, and attacking her like they're brainless. They're doing it like, I'm sorry, but they're doing it like they don't have a brain. Because it's like, the stuff that this lady is bringing up is true. What are you, like, we heard this right here.
Goes up and then just thrives off of like literally dividing us. Because I've seen the videos that she's been posting, and first of all, I think it's really embarrassing because they're not hitting the way that she thinks they're hitting.
Nah. Like, that's part of the gaslighting, because they are hitting. I mean, from what I've been seeing, from what we've been seeing, those videos are hitting. Okay, so I don't know what this lady is talking about. Those videos are hitting, from what I've been seeing. Everything that she said is true. You know, and now you want to blame one woman for separating you. It's like this is why males say lack of accountability. Women don't take accountability. You can't blame one woman for dividing you when everything she's saying is true. It's like all of you were just walking around like this, you know, not acknowledging jack squat. And here we are. All right. Okay. You know, I saw that from the get-go. I have polls that I posted on married women, and should married women be allowed to talk about these topics, and let's process through that. And then I moved on once I chose my direction, you know, because as you do it, you're like making this choice and you're making that choice and you're making this choice, and it's like whatever. But to pretend like it's not there and she's the one dividing you, not the fact that what she's saying is true. Let's be so for real. You know, it's like, come on.
She made about me that had gotten like 20K views and it had like 200 or something likes on it. Like, that's embarrassing. That's a 0.01 like rate.
Okay, so now we're counting likes. And this is what I'm saying. This proves the lady's point, which is like, okay, these are performances. They're in it for the numbers. They're in it for the publicity. They're in it to get an audience. She's like, it has 200 and something. Like, ma'am, can you address the comments that are the allegations that are being made against you? Because why are we counting likes? These allegations are going to keep coming up because you keep not addressing it, trying to gaslight the rest of us. It's not even like I said, the content she puts out, it's fine content, but you got to address the allegations. You know, it's like, what? That has nothing to do with the allegations that are being presented against you, you know? And if it wasn't hitting, you wouldn't be making a 1 hour plus video on her. Okay, let's be so for real on that.
Right? I could have said all
the wrong one here.
So you know that people are not vibing with that content. Yeah, her video about me is evil. I would agree with that. And I think she's giving the biggest mean girl energy that I've seen, because I called her out very demure, very nicely. She reposted it as if she wasn't part of the problem. And then she is proceeding to have made like 40 more videos literally calling Cecilia Regina like Regina.
Oh my God, y'all. I'm sorry.
And I could have said
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, but I don't see how y'all can follow this. I'm sorry. But it's like, what is she talking about? She sounds insane. Okay, like I'm just gonna keep it all the way real. She sounds nuts. Okay, like it's like I called her out first and I did it very demure, and now I'm mad that she responded. Girl, what? What are you talking about? And now she's calling out Cecilia, whatever. Like, ma'am, I was with you, but this keeps getting worse. Like, what are you talking about? And the brainless, like the people that are just following you, not processing through information, they're going to be in the comment section. Yo. This is a joke. This is why men take women as a joke. Because this is a joke right here, right? It's like, what? I'm so sorry, but what are we talking about? Wild indeed. So RDTG says, wild indeed. I don't 100% agree with any creator, right? It is wrong to send followers to attack a woman based on constructive criticism. Instead of attacking, they could just unfollow. Wow. Exactly. And that's the biggest problem I have with this is there's two big issues that I have with this. Okay. A, you've all ganged up, okay, on one person. I have a problem with that. Okay. B, none of the things, you can't even argue against any of the things that this lady has said in response to you. Okay. Attacking her in a very demure way, like she's an idiot and she's not going to pick up on it. And now you mad that she responded. Are we well? You know, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, these are the issues that I have with this. It's not with the content or the fact that they're making content. I said it from the beginning. I'm like, you should probably address that, because it's like, why, like, it doesn't make sense to me either. All right. And if that were me, I even put myself in those shoes when I was doing the live. I was like, if that were me and I were married, I think that what I would probably end up doing, because it is a sticky situation, I would probably have to just find a way to explain that and tailor the message accordingly, because how else are you going to do it? You know, except for what they've been doing, which is just like pretending like it's not there. Right. So I'm just like, okay, you sound nuts, man. Like, because it's like you attacked her first and now you're surprised that she's responding, and now you're trying to get even more people. The gaslighting is insane. You're trying to get even more women riled up to go out there and attack her. This is why I don't participate in these things, these little group things, right? Because now if I were a part of this little group here, I'd be sitting back just watching, not unable to comment on any of it, right? Because I've noticed I don't hear a lot of women commenting, you know, except for attacking this one girl. Everyone is on the same level of thinking within the group think the mean girl situation. Now, all of a sudden, she's the mean girl while you're participating in mean girl behavior, right? It's like, it starts making no sense really, really fast, really, really quick, right? I'm like, nah, I can't support that. She's hurt and knows the criticism is valid, so she's lashing out and rallying the minions. Exactly. It's like, ma'am, you know this criticism is valid. Like, we've heard it. We're going to have to continue in a different life because it's like, it's so much evidence. I'm like, this is so much content, it's so much evidence, and you guys have been duking it out for a week plus. It's like wild. And these are valid. Okay, so to me, it's a little bit insulting that you're coming here trying to play me to my face. Okay, like I'm stupid, like I can't process the information myself. It's a little bit insulting, ma'am. Okay, she's trying to gaslight like she's so smart, she's above everyone else and no one else can think. Ma'am, your followers cannot use their brain to process through a paper plate or a paper bag, I should say, right? So that's not our fault. But the rest of us, from an objective standpoint, we can see, okay, well, these are valid concerns. What was your response in regards to that? And your response is, what? The physical part doesn't matter. She's the mean girl. The physical, man, what are you talking about? You sound nuts, right? It sounds insane. You know, that's what's really kind of irritating me. It's like, okay, you keep saying these things like we're dumb and we can't process through information. Just take the L. Yes, take the L and just address it, bro. That's probably what I would do. I would have to take the L and be like, I said that earlier in the live. Yes, it is a discrepancy. Yes, it is. Okay. And go in, but I guess she can't really take the L. The only reason I can think of that she hasn't taken the L on this is maybe she is faking it, because in order to take the L, you have to be someone that has thought about this. I mean, you have to have pieces that connect, that make sense, right? So that you can then present it, because it's an issue and it's always been an issue. But if you can't take the L and you can't defend this, right? That's when you start doing this thing right here, you know, and then trying to gaslight the rest of us like we're stupid. Okay, ma'am, what we've been watching her this whole time, she has perfectly valid points. And you sending your little minions over there, your little mean girl club over there to attack her, that just further, and then blaming her for the deconstruction of the group, of the movement that you claim to have created. You didn't even create the movement. You sound insane. Okay? You're not the first feminist to ever live, and you jumped onto the movement. You didn't create Jack Squad. Okay, that's what all of us did. The women wanted it. It was in demand. And those of us that aligned, well, hopefully aligned with that message, started talking more about it, started studying more into it, started looking more into it, and delivering the message for the women. That's it. That's all. You didn't create Jack Squad. I don't know where they got this mentality that they created it. I don't know where that came from. I don't know where that came from. That doesn't even make sense. You've been on YouTube talking about other things even before you started talking about this. So there's no way you created it. You jumped on to the topic, just like the rest of us. Okay. So it doesn't even make sense, like the way that she's processing this. And every word, I'm just getting more and more annoyed with every word that's coming out of her mouth, because it's like you keep not addressing the issue. I'm trying to understand, because this lady has brought up so many things that are factual, and you're not addressing it. You're not addressing it. Like, it doesn't make sense. Oh my gosh, y'all.
But if this way, so that
we're gonna have to like close out soon.
Like, what's what I'm looking for, like disparaging type content. Black Peppa, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for modding. So this is why I want to, and about Ukrainians, like she is at this point, like absolutely, I'm sorry, but she's gone off the rails. And to everybody saying, but you're married. Guys, this has been known. Like I don't hide the fact that I'm married.
So King B. Even though she claims Cecilia Regina created the talking points, even though she has a sociology degree, child. They're all trying to take credit for creating what they did not create. It's like, what? You didn't create any of this stuff. You're actually late to the game. Okay, because the reason why we even have rights today is because the feminists from way back then fought for said rights. So there's nothing that you can claim to have created, ma'am. Okay, especially you who's married. I'm just like, what? Especially you, right? Especially you. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's outrageous. Okay, this take is outrageous. Nothing against the lady, but this is an outrageous take from an objective standpoint, right?
The fact that my husband is my number one supporter of this content.
My husband is my number one supporter.
And date men without centering them. It just means that you wouldn't change anything about your life for a man. And it does not mean that you're the exception. I talk about this often. I never say that I'm the exception. That's why I don't rely on my man to like take care of me. I make my own money. I always have. I have savings accounts in my name. I have retirement accounts in my name. And so we don't believe in exceptionalism over here. We don't believe in marriage exceptionalism or anything like that. I'm a huge proponent of divorce. I will tell anybody to get divorced, myself included, if they're not happy, if they're not getting what they need from the marriage. I don't assume that I've been picked. I don't assume that I have any sort of like, that's what decentering men while being married looks like. So just so y'all know, right? It's just not putting all of your eggs in that one basket. My basket is the only one I put eggs in, right? So let's talk about practicing discernment in feminist spaces.
No. Okay, so she's about to continue to get into sending her minions over there, right? And she still didn't address anything. I'm a big proponent of, ma'am, I'm a big proponent of divorce. I'm a big proponent of this. And you can practice decentering men while married. You can do this. And I'm like, but you're married. Okay, you hit a plateau when you're married, ma'am. So how can you be telling other women to not engage with males, to not do these things or trust males when you are married? This is the problem that you're not addressing. Okay, this is the discrepancy that you're not addressing. We don't do this over here. Sir, ma'am, who are like these? They're unwell. Who made you the rule keeper of what you can do in the space and what you can't do in the space? Right? We don't talk about that over here. Like, ma'am, I don't even know what else to say, because like that whole thing is just like a whole gaslighting session. Well, you can decenter men. I make my own money. Fair. I make my own money. I put eggs in my own basket. That's okay. That's fine. Decentering males while married. But when the topic and the question comes up as to how you can make content, telling women to stay away from males, claiming that you're this extreme feminist and like males are selfish and they do this and they do that. Meanwhile, you're married to a male. You still have to address this discrepancy. And you're saying that you've never said that you're the exception. Well, the fact that you're making this content saying that males suck, you shouldn't deal with them, they are this or they are that, or whatever it is that you're saying that's not in the favor of males, but you're married, okay, wouldn't that directly imply that you see yourself as the exception? Like, am I on the same, like, are we processing through the same information here? That literally directly implies and says and shows that you do view yourself as the exception. Okay. Now, it's one thing to say, okay, I know that this is a valid conclusion to come to, but personally, I don't view myself in that way, or I try not to, right? Maybe you can get some people with that argument, with that counter argument, okay? But to come here and try to say like you don't view yourself as the exception when the content you're putting out is directly the opposite of the life you're living, and that in and of itself makes it look like, and it would, any common sense person would come to the conclusion that you do view yourself as the exception, doesn't make sense. right? So King B says, even if she were to tell tell her fans don't go over to their page and hate on them, she is still sending hate by creating the drama video for them. Yeah, she's gaslighting. That's what I've been saying this whole video. That's one of the things that's irritating me, because she thinks like no one sees it, because her following that are void of independent thinking, right, will just go and attack this other lady without even processing or caring to process through information. It's gaslighting. All of the, she said so many negative things about this girl in this video already, and then turns around and calls her the mean girl. Man, you would have been better off just addressing the issues, okay? Explaining the issues again and not being surprised that it keeps coming up, because it is a discrepancy. You're married and you're telling other ladies to not trust males. Now, how does that work? I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm still trying to figure this out. How does that work if you're not saying that you're the exception? If you're not saying that you're the exception and you're married, yet you're telling women to not trust males, to not deal with males, how does that work? You see what I'm saying? So that's the thing, is like, yeah, she's knowingly creating this content, hoping that this other lady will get the backlash for it, expecting all of your fans. So King B goes on to say, expecting all of your fans to follow your advice is delulu. Yeah. So I think this is just a mess. I mean, we can't go through, as much as I want to finish, I can't finish. There's too much, but I just think it's a delusional stance to take. And this is done. This already shows me, this is like proof, like the whole thing is fake. I knew it. Haha. See, I knew it. That's where I'm at right now, right? It's like, I knew it. I knew the whole thing was fake. Okay. Like, there's no other way to explain this. There's really not. And for you to like come here and blame one person for the demise of the whole thing is insane to me. You know what I mean? And like, then you're sending your little minions over there to attack the girl, knowing good and well that these are questions that are valid. She's asking you valid questions. If you had actually taken the time to process through this, you might have come up with an answer that makes sense and that's true for you. But that tells me you haven't taken the time to process through this, because all these mindless minions have just been supporting you without wanting to address the elephant in the room, right? So you haven't even taken the time to actually deeply process through these discrepancies, or you're faking it. It's one of those two. Okay. So that's the thing, is like, I feel like at the end of the day, she keeps speaking as though we're all idiots. Okay. You keep trying to gaslight us. I don't appreciate that. Okay. It's like one of the arguments was like, this chick has been married since the age of 19 or 20 years old. What do you know about men? You literally don't know anything about them. You've been married to one person since 19 or 20 years old. You don't know jack squat about males. Why don't you address that? Because that seems like a pretty valid viewpoint to me. Because it's true. There's no way you could know anything about males. So where are you getting all this information from? It's not information that's coming from you. So why don't you just say that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand why don't you just say, why don't you just say that, or does her having her minions depend on her coming up with the content herself? Do they all think that she's coming up with these ideas on her own? Is that what the problem is? I don't know. We'll keep looking at this, because it's very, very interesting as we continue to see the collapse of the mean girls feminist groups, complete collapse and demise. Okay, because now people are going to start choosing sides more and more. That's what's happening already. Okay, to the point where even we're talking about it in our little space here on YouTube, right? So that's the thing. I'm just kind of like looking at her like, that's a gaslighter right there, because you still haven't told me how it's possible for you to know anything about these topics that you're talking about when you've been married since 19 or 20 years old. You've been stuck in that marriage. I don't get it. right? So these are the things that I would much rather see addressed, because it's making logical sense to me when they're coming up that you wouldn't know anything about these topics that you insist on talking about, right? So when you put out content, you're not specifically putting it out for married women, which would make more sense, I think. Or you're not doing it from a standpoint of like, well, I'm married and this is what I do. This is what I use it for, which would make more sense, like Shira 7 does. You're just kind of putting out decentering male content, saying that you can decenter males, but yet you're married. Ma'am, you can only do so much decentering of males while married. Okay, like we talked about earlier, the physical is a very, very, very big part of decentering males. Otherwise, you wouldn't have all these women saying, I don't date them. I'm not around them. I don't even want to be around them. They suck from your emotional energy. They litter everywhere. They dirty things everywhere. You wouldn't have women. This is all physical. This is all in the physical space. Okay. You wouldn't have males trying to get control of women's body, because women can use their body physically to procreate. Okay. So the physical part is a very big deal, ma'am. You can't just be like, whatever, it's only mental. Are you like, what are we doing here? Right. I would like to see these things addressed a little bit more in a more forthcoming manner. And I would like to see a little bit less of a joint attack against one person. But I guess it's too late for that. I think that we're seeing the very real, it's like a mirror, we're just seeing what it actually looks like in these things. And it further goes to show why I started telling y'all, because I had already seen it. Even creating content just here on YouTube, I had already seen it. I said, a matriarchy ain't possible. Okay. I wasn't saying that just to hurt feelings. I'm saying that because you should probably prepare for that and process through the disappointment of knowing it's not possible. That's how we ended up here in the first place, right? That's how we ended up here. Okay. It's all of this stuff that's going to continue to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Anyways, y'all, we'll keep going in part 2. I'm going to name it part 2 because all these names came up. Now there's a Cecilia involved. I don't know who Cecilia is, child. I'm going to have to look that up, I'm sure you wish it were. I do wish it were possible. I do, but it's just not possible. Yes, I do. Actually, like I said before, when I started making content specifically tailored towards this, I thought it was. I kind of, looking back, I feel like I was delusional on that point, But as I started learning more and more and seeing like what's behind the scene, I said, y'all, ain't possible. And I've started saying that in my lives. So y'all could just start processing through that, because it's just not going to work. You see it right here. And every time I say something, it always comes to fruition. Why? Probably because I spent a lot of time thinking about it before saying it, but it's unfortunate. This is unfortunate to see. Okay. It's even more unfortunate to see so many women easily gaslit because they just don't want to sit down and process through information, to the point where you're going over fighting the very thing that you're hoping to become. Like, you're literally attacking the very woman that's a direct reflection of what you're trying to enforce in your own life. She's not dating males. She's not married to a male. You know what I mean? And you're fighting her and supporting one that's literally attached to a male and has been attached to a male her entire existence at this point, for the most part. Okay. Let's make that make sense, right? So y'all, I know. Thank you, Guilty Angel. I cannot wait for part 2. I can't wait for part 2. Again, I'm mostly like seeing Flawed Villain's side. I'm skewing more towards that side because I feel like none of these concerns have been addressed, A, and B, you sent your minions after her. That's insane. You sent your minions after her and then expect her to not limit her comments. Are you well? You know how mean people on social media can be? Do you know how ruthless people on social media can be? And then you expect her not to limit her comments. I swear to God, that's inhumane. That's inhumane behavior, in my opinion, because people on social media are nuts. Okay. They can be so psycho. And you sent all your little minions that don't have two brain cells to rub together to attack her. And now you're talking about, I've never limited my comments, ma'am. Just address the allegations. Okay. Just address the allegations. Okay. Because if I were her, if I were Flawed villain, I don't think I would leave those comments open either. That's insane. That's wild. Right? Hi, Doctors of Darkness. We're just starting to wrap up. Thanks for joining. For women to create a matriarchy, women would have to learn I don't want to say the word, XEX dominance, XEXUAL dominance, and own the majority of the capital. The current strategy is hypergamy and withholding, which is just patriarchy. You know, that could be true too. I'm processing through this. You know, I think women can do well and have been doing well when it comes to taking ownership of most capital, most assets, you know, land, houses, in the education factor. But I do not think that they do well when it comes to, you know, having SEX-UAL dominance. Okay. And I think a lot of that just stems from the fact that they seek validation from males, and a lot of them use that SEX to try to get validation from these males that they'll never get validation from. Males, like I say all the time, they're predators, and they're really, really dumb at everything else. But guess what the one thing is that they're not very dumb at, because they have extensive experience with playing you, women. Okay. They're very good at that. They're very good at that. They're very good at playing you. Okay. So the thing is, like, they know that a lot of these women will give it up with just a little bit of pressure, you know, because they want that male. They want to take possession of that male so badly. They want the male to like them. They want the male to blah, 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 blah. And I give actually an excuse to youngins because of the patriarchy. When you're young, it could take some time to learn these things. Okay. Like as you have one bad experience after another bad experience with the male, then you start thinking, you might not think in terms of males suck or the patriarchy, but you start thinking in terms of, you know, I just don't think that it's in my favor to continue to chase these males because most of my experience with them has been negative. You know, you start kind of like thinking at least in those terms the older that you get, right? But yeah, I think that I don't think they can create a matriarchy because I don't think they will be able to get that under control. I don't think they will. Why? Because the women have a big problem when it comes to competing with each other. Okay. They have a very, very big problem when it comes to competing with each other, and not just competing with each other for the validation of males specifically. Okay. That's a big problem. Right. And when it comes to like, not addressing reality. Okay. Like all of these things that were brought up that are valid points, she's not addressing any of it. She's just like, well, I never said I would support you if you were, ma'am, that's not what we're talking about. She's addressing some really solid points here. Address those points instead of trying to be catty and gaslight while at the same time sending your little minions over there to attack this lady. Okay. Like, I'm not understanding. So because I'm not a part of any of these groups, that's the reason why I'm able to like comment on it so freely. But I made that choice early on, but I saw the exact same things, which is why I made the choice early on. Right. But yeah, Daughters of Darkness, I agree with you, but I don't agree that the women can create a matriarchy. It's unfortunate. It's just the truth. It was disappointing to me too. Again, because when I came in, talking more and more about these topics, I did think it was possible. I did. But the more I see, the less I think it's possible. And to the point where at this point, I don't think it's possible. And the more I start to see how the oppression happened to begin with. Because women are smarter when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to everything else, every other metric, even empathy. the women are smarter. Even evolution, the women are more evolved. So how? How did we get here? Okay. Now I'm starting to see it. Okay. To make the situation worse. But, we'll explore that more. We'll explore Daughters of Darkness. We'll explore that more in part 2. I just don't see it as of right now. The women aren't able to control themselves. Okay. This competition that they're having between each other, they're not able to do it as of right now, Yeah, they need land and all that other stuff. Yeah, and free communication channels. Yeah. So anyways, y'all, yeah, so King D agreed. But I like, it's good for women. It's good for some women to still have hope in that. I tend to be kind of literal, and so when I see these things, I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time trying to do something that these women don't even want. These are the women will start screaming matriarchy. It's like, you can't even be so for real. You don't even really want that. All of your actions and behaviors say otherwise, right? So I'm not going to waste my time with that. But on an individual basis, as the individual woman says, I don't want that path. I want this path. I want more freedom. I want this. I want it to build it differently. I want to do. Then you can come over here to me. Okay. But all these other women over there that are just like blind and trying to act like it's not happening, even though it's happening, delusional, playing games, putting out content that has nothing to do with their real life, that's going to be the majority. Okay. That's where the majority reside. Okay. But when you're ready to be serious, you can come over here. Okay. And don't be surprised if I say, I don't agree with that. That's not what I see. But if the women are able to turn it around, then we'll have that discussion. But I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening. Anyways, y'all. So I think that's a good conclusion for today, because I don't want to hit the play button again and we get all into it's 3+ hours long on a Saturday. What? And it's too late for me to get in the jacuzzi because all the bugs are going to eat me up if I get in there. So I'll try on Sunday. I didn't even go to Kroger. I was supposed to go to Kroger and do some grocery shopping because I'm out of groceries. Didn't do it because this whole situation was pressing on my internal senses. We'll continue with part 2 next week. Thank you all for joining today. Don't forget to smash the like button. I always forget to remind you guys to do that. And I just, we'll continue to touch base on this, as we continue to move forward. And as each party brings up new points, we'll evaluate that and see if it makes sense or what it looks like from an objective standpoint. Okay. But I will see y'all in the next one. I think I reminded you of everything, hopefully. And we will talk in a few days. Keep track of the community section to see when the next live will be. I'm going to try to make a podcast on this because that's where most of the attention is on my channel, is on the podcast. And we'll go from there. Okay. Love you so much. Bye.